Hello, everybody. Flamin' Shark back with another video, and today we are jumping in to the third episode of Chaos Head Noah and the first episode in a million years. Yes, now this is the official beginning of our Let's Play of Chaos Head Noah, because if you don't remember the context, I was waiting on the Fate release, the worldwide official Fate release. And because there was no news on it, whatever, I was like, okay, I'm gonna play a different game while I'm waiting for it. And then immediately after I started Chaos Head Noah, I not only did it, the release date was announced for that Fate thing. It was literally it was literally like 5 days later, and I was very annoyed. And then, like I said, we did 2 episodes of Chaos Head Noah, and then we stopped. It was like, okay, at some point we're gonna come back to this. But the good news is we're in it for the long haul. We're playing the rest of this game. We're committed to our Chaos Head Noah Let's Play. This is actually going to be going up on New Year's Day, so this will actually be going up on Thursday because the Yu Hakusho video will take an extra day to clear. So yeah, this should be going up on January 1st. Unless something changes, and then it'll go up on January 2nd. But it will be the Friday gaming slot for the foreseeable future, at least until we wrap this game up. So we will be playing this. We're committed to Chaos Head Noah. I'm super excited to jump in to more Chaos Head Noah with all of you. I've reviewed the footage. I'm ready to go. Everything's great. I'm super excited for this. This should be a lot of fun, and yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. I'm really excited to get back into Takumi's deranged mind. I'm excited to see what the whole situation is with Yua and more of how that develops. I'm excited to see the character that we teased at the end of episode 2. We keep teasing these random girls. I'm excited to meet more of them. More Nanami would be awesome. I'm sure we're going to get plenty more Daisuke, like lots of good stuff. New gen nonsense. Figuring out who the hell Shogun is, like all of these mysteries and so many more that I only just started to scratch the surface of. So I'm so excited to finally be back in on this game and be able to play it. I'm only recording this, like I said, a couple days before you'll see the episode, so this is fresh, hot out the oven. Hopefully I'll start to gradually get further ahead as we go, because I expect I'll be playing this a lot, because I was like so excited, and I was really bummed out to have to put this on the back burner. So I'm really excited to be jumping into Chaos Head Noah for real this time and actually be diving in to all of this. As you guys can see, we're actually the first save file, if you look at the end of the last video there. And also, if you guys, whether you guys watched my Let's Play, 2 episodes of the Let's Play or not, they're obviously going to be in the playlist, both my Science Adventure playlist and my Chaos Head playlist, so check that out, and you can watch that, and that'll be great. If you guys want to see what I've done so far, and I'm also doing, with the delusions, I decided I'm going to do no delusions in this initial run, and then, we'll see what the hell happens after that, and I'm sure I'll have to do various delusions to get however many other endings are in this game, and whatever ending I end up with, and all that good stuff. Anyways, another week came, and with it, another school day. As usual, I headed to school with my head hung low, depressed as ever. Autumn was starting to come into full swing. The leaves of the trees in Shoto Park were slowly changing color, and I was starting to feel chilly in my short-sleeve uniform. I supposed it made sense that I'd be surprised by the change of season, given I rarely went outside in the first place. I still hadn't really registered that summer had ended. My weekend had consisted of non-stop ESO. Grimm had kept on bugging me about Yua, but I just ignored him. I hadn't gotten an email from Yua since that first one. I hadn't replied to her first one either, so maybe she'd finally given up on me. I really hoped that was the case. Whenever I talked to Yua, my feelings always got all jumbled up. Those interactions almost made me have a little hope. But there was no point in being so optimistic. At the end of the day, I was just an otaku freak. My whole life, I'd never had any success with 3D, so I'd just given up on it. And this is, like, the interesting thing with his character, right? Because he is such an incel that, like, just actually be interacting and having, like, friendships and potentially more, I suppose, with some of these people it's going to be interesting to see how his character potentially evolves. And then obviously there's the delusional aspect of his character that I'm sure will lean heavily into, and even more so probably in whatever other routes we do later when we actually have to do positive and negative delusions and all that good stuff. Please don't give me any hope. Please don't have any hope for me. That's, like, really interesting, too. He's so afraid of, like, the despair that he might find along his road that he'd rather just have no hope for his existence than, you know, than actually, like, live for something and be let down. Just as I thought that, someone tapped my shoulder from behind. I figured it was Nami or Mizumi-kun, but when I turned around, I was shocked. So it's not Nanami, it's not Mizumi, which means it probably is Kusunoki. Yep. She was running after you. Was she stalking your ass again? Yua was looking at me with a smile on her face. Her cheeks were a little flushed. Why was she so out of breath? Because obviously she was chasing you, bro. Yeah, it's like the opposite of giving up on you. Had she really not given up yet? Did she still have some hope left in me? She is very pretty. I do like her design. I actually think that hair color in this type of, like, visual novel is actually, like, it feels really natural. Which is funny, because there is some striking hair color in this, especially with the pink. With our supposed serial killer and, Sarah-chan. Or Sarah-tan, I should say. Wow. Awkward. I found myself nodding at a reflex. Fair enough. Seriously, what the hell did Yua want from me? Did she expect me to like her back? Did she want me to be her boyfriend? And then did she want us to live out some intimate lovey-dovey fantasy together? I mean, maybe, but I think at the end of the day, she just wants to be your friend, dumbass. And, like, that's the thing. Like, she's clearly an otaku, and she doesn't have people to, like, embrace that with. And she'd like to be friends with you because of those common interests. I mean, there might be more to it, but, you know, on surface level, that's what it looks like to me. There was no way I could do that. No way I could be that normal, no matter how hard I tried. I really wanted to, but it just wasn't possible. I still didn't understand why Yua even liked me in the first place. She made it all the more impossible to trust her. So I just couldn't do it.
Nishijou-kun, どうしたんですか?
え?
ずっと立ち止まってるので。
Yeah, that is kind of a thing he does. Spacing out, especially when things are going better than he expects. Upon realizing that, I quickly started to walk away, leaving Yua behind, but before I could get very far, Yua had already caught up with me.
昨日、西條くんのクラスに行ったんですけど、いませんでしたよね。もしかして風邪でもひいて休んでるんじゃないかと思って心配だったんです。でも元気そうでよかった。
たまにしか。
Oh?
はい
Are you gonna admit the truth?
たまにしか学校来ない。みんなから引きこもりって思われてる。
Hikikomori. Which you are, I would say. I think that's fair. Did that break the spell? You're totally disillusioned now that you know the truth, right? God, he's so desperate to avoid the connections. It's actually adorable. It really is. If so, I don't mind. I never got my hopes up anyway. Go ahead and call me an otaku freak, and then after that, never talk to me again.
そうですか。でも今日は会えてよかったです。
It is weird, I will say, because, like, Yua is, like, so sweet that I don't have the delusions of our boy Takumi here, but Nishijou-kun, but I will say there is a part of me that's, like, she does feel, like, incredibly nice and she just lets everything like roll off like incredibly easily, and I'm very curious to kind of dive deeper into why she is the way she is. And because if I had to guess, her fascination is probably, there is probably more to her fascination with Takumi than what we know, than like the obvious that I said. But then that also gets into the fact where his like delusional mind might lead him down a path that isn't true, and it really is that simple, that basic. But who knows? I think it's still too early for me to have much of a grasp on where we're actually going with this game. But yeah, good stuff so far. I am very curious about this Yua-Takumi dynamic.
No.
I was left speechless. All I could manage to do was stare at Yua's smile, but when our eyes met, I got flustered and looked down. How was she not disgusted by me?
っていうか、たまにでも学校に来てるなら、西条くんは引きこもりじゃないと思います。
I mean, that is true. You do still show up sometimes. Like, even despite that, you do absolutely make a point of keeping your grades up. So much so that you have a giant schedule about it. You're more like an optimizer than anything else.
すいません。分かったようなこと言っちゃって。
でも、苦痛だよ。
Damn.
だとしたら、偉いです。
Wow.
え?
I never thought I'd ever hear someone say that to me. What the hell was respectable about a total loser like me? A gentle smile had spread over Yua's face. A smile so sweet it could cure any disease. That was genuinely what I thought in that moment.
だって、西条くんは辛いのに頑張って学校に来ていますから。
It's like, this is ridiculously sweet and understanding, but when you really look at things through that lens, you absolutely could say that this guy has, yeah, he does still come, and he does still take care of his responsibilities in regards to school. And like, he is a surprisingly like responsible person, because like, all things considered, he's found a very unique use of his talents to like make money, and he still does fully intend to graduate, right? So like, you know, you could view him as being like a shut-in whatever, but he still takes care of his business, and he's not like the most useless person in the world, even if he is like a cringe lord in his mind and online. But you could see how if somebody shows him just a little kindness, he completely melts apart.
普通なら、普通は来られないですよ。
That's an interesting point.
でも、
I mean, I certainly from my own perspective, I do like, my goal in life is not to be like super successful or make a lot of money. My goal in life is to have a comfortable life and to try and genuinely do the least amount of effort. Like, in that regard, I kind of respect Takumi, because that is kind of one of the things that I like to do, is just least effort, chill life, not worried about making a lot of money, not worried about being like super successful. I just want to have a cool life where I can, you know, chill, watch fun stuff, eat good stuff, and just have a good time, right? And like, that's kind of all I'm like, that's really like my dream in life, right? I don't have this like grand dream of being something in particular.
僕はオタだし、キモいし。
You're definitely an otaku, and honestly, in some ways, perhaps a freak, but that actually has nothing to do with you being an otaku, for one. I know this is an old game, or old-ish game. It's a little, you know, it's 15 plus years, like what, 17 years old? I think it's 2008, but you know, that was still a bit more of a derogatory term back then, whereas nowadays otaku is a very neutral term. It just means that you're into, you know, otaku shit. But yeah, I would still say that those, even then, I wouldn't directly associate the two to that degree.
私、西条くんの話を聞くの好きですよ。
What the hell? What was with all this validation? Why did hearing it make me feel so good about myself? It'd be really interesting if she's like a serial killer, because I'm sure there's more to the story with the pink-haired girl. It would be interesting if Yua's like, if this is like part of her routine. Probably not. She's probably genuine, but I don't know. Why did hearing it make me feel good about myself? It felt like Yua was embracing me all the way down to my core. Like she was giving me the right to be here, to exist in this moment. It felt like when I was with her, maybe I could even be a normal person again. Yep. I hadn't realized it till now, but almost all the students were already gone. Everyone had made their way into the school building. Alright. Yeah, to do the, Yeah. Aww. She's very cute. Like, because that's the thing. Like, she's very genuine, but that admittedly clearly gets her a little embarrassed. So I do appreciate that. With a timid tone, Yua mumbled her words, a faint blush on her cheeks. How do you feel about this, bro? Aw. I love it too, because there's like layers to this, because it's like on one hand she's like really embarrassed and like she realizes that she has to be the one, like Nishijo is never going to be the aggressor here, like she has to be the one that advances their relationship, and she feels very embarrassed about that, but also there's the level of like she knows that she shouldn't be too pushy with him because of the way that he is, that if she pushes too hard she might lose him. So I like that the layers to that, where it's like it's partially it's like her strategy and partially it's because she's genuinely embarrassed to ask. So I do kind of like the layers to that. Yua bowed elegantly, then darted off toward the third-year classrooms. I watched her disappear into the building, then I pinched my cheek. It really wasn't a dream or a delusion. All right, let's get to class, I guess. Always, I love that he's in the protagonist's chair, by the way. In the back corner by the window. Classic anime shit. I couldn't focus on my classes all day after that. Or rather, I didn't bother trying to focus. I just rested my head on my hand, staring sluggishly into the autumn sky outside the window. My teachers, my classmates, none of them ever paid any attention to me. But Yua did. Yua was different from the other shitbags at this school, and now he is starting to actually genuinely think of her as different from everyone else. I couldn't stop thinking about her. I couldn't stop having delusions about her, and before I knew it, classes were over for the day.
Yo, Taku. 今日もデートか?
Actually, kinda.
この前のメガネのことはうまくいってるんだろうな。おいおい。ニートだからって躊躇してんなよ。向こうがお前のこと気に入ってくれてんなら、付き合うか付き合わないかはともかく、やっちまうのが礼儀。
Oh my god, I love it, dude. Dude, not gonna lie, like Mizumi might be my favorite character so far. I do love my guy.
そんなことしないよ。
おい、なんだよいきなり大声出して。
ユアとはそんなことしない。
は？お前まだ言ってんの？
Wow.
なんで最初から諦めるんだよ。そろそろ引きこもりから卒業しようぜ。
Wow.
僕は引きこもりじゃない。
And that wasn't even what this was about. Yeah, to be fair, it really does have nothing to do with what this is about, but there was no point in trying to explain that to Mizumi-kun, a guy who only thought with the wrong head. I think that's a fair commentary on our boy here. So ignoring how puzzled Mizumi-kun was, I quickly made my way out of the classroom. Okay, that was a really short scene with Daisuke. The shortest path from here to the courtyard is through the skyway to the third-year building, then down the stairs, I think. I didn't come to school often enough to have a good grasp on the layout. I didn't even know where half the club rooms were. I like how there's just, like, background noise, like, in pretty much just about every scene. I do think, like, the sound mixing and editing in this game has been pretty interesting, because it's, like, it makes it feel dynamic, and you really feel like when you're in a scene with people, because obviously we have, like, a lot of scenes where he's by himself in his shipping container, and you just hear, like, the clack of his keyboard and stuff. So, like, when we get these scenes, like, at the academy, it feels, like, lively. Even though, obviously, there wasn't, like, a lot of budget in the game, so, like, the backgrounds are, you know, the way they are. So I was a little bit anxious as I walked down the hallway to the next building. As I walked, I noticed a girl standing alone in the middle of the hall, staring up at the sky. Her face looked stiff, so despite her looking out the window, it wasn't in the wistful kind of way. Interesting. She was obviously in everyone's way, but she didn't seem to care in the slightest. I know you could hear me walking toward you. Move along, will you? I'm in a bit of a hurry here. I was getting real... Oh no. DQN vibes. I want to actually read that again, because I remember that you're supposed to say it a different way. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Dokyun. Dokyun. Yes. Stupid, antisocial, or delinquents. Love it. Dokyun. I was getting real Dokyun vibes from her, and I didn't want anything to do with it. No, I don't want auto. There, thank you. So I tried to keep my distance and slip by Girl B without getting noticed.
Oi.
Oh shit. Oh shit, was she talking to me? She even has kind of like a delinquent voice. Like, I need to hear her talk more, but her voice is kind of hot. It was that deep, you know, voice. Fuck. Was she gonna threaten me and take all my money? Or take me to the Dokyun hangout spot and have me lynched? Just because she didn't like my face? Or worse? What's worse than getting lynched? Jesus Christ, bro. Give me a fucking break. What have I ever done to deserve this? God, he really does think the worst of people. That's crazy that that's what he's thinking right now. I looked towards Girl B. She was staring at me.
お前、誰だ?
Interesting. So I assume he's caught your eye for some reason? Did she just ask me that? I'm Nishijo Takumi, but this is the first time I've ever spoken to her, so obviously she wouldn't know that. Unless, I mean, who knows? So I was right. Whatever she wants from me, it can't be good.
すいません。
Oh, I was expecting him to say more there. Sorry. I'm trying to get a quick note in, but I don't want to slow down the pacing more than it already is, because it's a visual novel, and I take my time talking and shit. I quickly bowed to avoid looking Girl B in the face, then ran away as fast as I could. Damn, bro actually just ran. That's funny. Alright, I got... Had to write that quick, but I got a very short note in that I wanted. Also, this courtyard looks nice. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, in Fruits Basket, there's a location that kind of looks a little bit like this. After bolting through the hall, down the stairs, and out the door, I shot a look behind me at the third-year building. It seemed like the scary girl hadn't come after me. I was safe. To be completely honest, I was getting tired of all this bullshit. Wherever I went in the third dimension, I was always running into another goddamn trap. I took a second to catch my breath and then looked for the courtyard. The courtyard was between the school building and the pool. It was so narrow, it was more like a path than an actual garden. There were a few evenly spaced flower beds spread across the courtyard. The violet-colored flowers were especially eye-catching. What kind of flowers are those, I wondered, but I really didn't have a clue. There she is. And standing in front of the flower beds was none other than Yua. She stood still, gazing at the flowers listlessly. Just like she'd promised, she'd really waited for me here. She'd waited for me, and me alone. Don't get too excited, bro. Yua hadn't betrayed me. Maybe I could trust her. Maybe she really was the savior I'd been looking for. Yua looked up and noticed me standing there. And a moment later, her eyes widened. I got shy and looked away, frozen in place. Should I walk toward her? I didn't know. Why was she so surprised? Because she thought you weren't gonna come. Maybe I shouldn't have come. But as I was lost in thought, Yua ran over to me.
びっくりしました。
You really didn't expect us to come, huh?
西条くんが本当に来てくれるなんて。
Damn. Maybe she's more similar to us than we think. Because that's a thing, right? Like, he acts like the way he acts for the most part, like, internally, but but, like, she only sees the outward shy loner guy. So, like, I mean, yeah, she's seen him nerd out a little bit. about the otaku shit and like Sarah and stuff, but like in the grand scheme of things, there's a real chance that she's like an absolute, like, that she's a fucking incel. Like, she could totally be a femcel, like 100%. She could actually be just like him, and we don't know it because we're only seeing her outward dialogue and the way she's acting towards us. So, like, it actually, these two could actually be either perfect for each other or awful for each other, depending on exactly how that meshes, if that's the case. Not that I'm saying it is, but it's fully possible that Yu is a lot more like Takumi than she seems.
どうせ来てもらえないって諦めかけてたんです。でも待っててよかった。
I was taken aback. Yua was thinking the same way as me. We both had the same pessimistic mindset. But there was one clear place that we differed. Whenever I had negative thoughts, I'd freeze up and do nothing. But whenever Yua had negative thoughts, she'd take action anyway. Yeah, that seems to be the big difference between the two of you, is that you guys mentally think similarly. But yeah, she tries to power through it a lot more. I seriously respected her initiative. I wanted to be like that too.
一緒に帰ってくれますか?
God, she's so cute. What the fuck? She timidly asked me, and I nodded in response. Alright, here we go. Walking side by side, the two of us passed through the school gate. It was a little embarrassing. It felt like other students were staring daggers at me, green with envy. Well, hey, you know, take the W, man. And the more aware of that I became, the more anxious I got. I guess I was right. I really can't walk home alone with a girl. Who the fuck are you? Random ass guy. We crossed paths with a teacher I'd never seen before, or at least I assumed he was a teacher since he was wearing a suit instead of a school uniform. Looked a little young, but he could be a teacher. But wasn't he a little young to be a teacher? Wow, I actually read that well. Sometimes that's really hard to tell with like anime style shit, because like, you know, everyone looks hot, so like, you know, it's like impossible to tell ages and shit. But I actually, me and Takumi are on the same page, which I don't know if that's a good thing. Well, I hardly ever came to school, so it only made sense that I wouldn't know what half the teachers looked like. Hell, sometimes I even forgot what my homeroom teacher looked like. The teacher in the suit was looking around restlessly as he headed for the school building.
どうしました?
Interesting. Not knowing how to react, I quickly shook my head, returned to Yua's side, and went back to walking with her. Very interesting. Oh, it's this... Yeah, we said we'd walk home together, but my base was only 10 minutes from school. Meanwhile, Yua needed to go all the way to Shinsen Station, so I needed to accompany her before I could go home. But by force of habit, I led Yua into Shoto Park. The park was something of a shortcut on my route to school, saving me about a minute each way.
西条くんって朝よくこの公園でパンを食べてませんか?
Yeah, she's a stalker, Yeah, there is that part. How did she know that?
やっぱりよく見かけたんです。でもいる時といない時があって。
Yeah, so when he comes to school.
今日ようやくその謎が解けました。学校にたまにしか来ないからだったんですね。
Yeah, pretty much.
別にそれがダメって言ってるわけじゃなくてですね。素朴な疑問だったので。
See, it's so interesting, right? Because the second she realizes, because that's the thing, like, in her head, she's thinking, oh, I might have said something that, like, will annoy him or whatever. So she immediately has to, like, correct herself and be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't mind. Like, it's fine. Like, she has to, like, defend what she said, and like that tells you like the nervous energy that she's operating under. It's very cute, but it's also very weird to have like these conversations between two characters that are both like so nervous, and like it's really interesting because you don't usually get that a lot. Usually it's like one of the two characters is like this, but it's interesting to have two characters like this talking back and forth, because Yua's conversations with Takumi are very different from Daisuke's or Nanami's, right? Where like the other character is a lot more energetic and passionate and kind of leading the discussion, and Takumi's just like silently reacting for the most part. But the conversations are very lively because the other character really carries the dialogue. Whereas here it's very slow and I don't want to use the word plotting because that implies that it's bad. It's just a different vibe. Yua suddenly stopped, turning toward the bench I always ate breakfast on. Nobody was sitting there at the moment.
なんだかここに座っているあなたの背中はすごく辛そうに見えて。
Damn. Yua bent forward slightly, gently stroking the back of the bench.
何度も見かけるうちにだんだん気になってきて。
Interesting. Well, she's being honest, at least. The bench was right in front of the fence by the pond. Whenever you sat on it, you could just stare out the pond without needing to worry about whether others might be looking at you. It was right by the watermill, too, making it even more inconspicuous. That was another huge plus.
ここ最近は姿を見かけなかった日は心配でご飯も喉を通らなかったりしてたんです。
Huh. So it's kind of that thing where it's like it's just someone that you noticed one day and then you just started, like, out of habit, you started watching him and then, like, developed affections for him without even knowing him, probably. I mean, that's very creepy stalker behavior, but that's interesting how it seems like, yeah, she developed feelings for him without even knowing him, seemingly. Really? I never noticed her looking at me when I was here.
バカみたいですよね。一度も話したこともない人の心配してるなんて。
Yeah, it definitely is, but I could definitely understand the, like, psychology behind that.
でも話しかける勇気もなかったので。
So her initial stalking was an extension of that. Or maybe not stalking per se, maybe she'd just been looking out for me. No, it's definitely stalking. Don't try to justify it just because you like her.
ちょっと座ってみてもいいですか？西条くんがどんな景色を見ていたのか、私も知りたいから。
Okay. I didn't really have much of a reason to refuse. I nodded my head, still facing out toward the lake. Yua placed her bag on top of the bench and quietly took a seat. She then straightened her posture and gazed out at the lake. It was so incredibly quiet, so incredibly serene, and Yua was sitting right by my side. Gentle breeze drew ripples on the water, and it softly swayed Yua's hair. Was this what it felt like to be a normie? This situation was so ordinary, so casual, so why did I feel like I was about to cry?
ここで朝食をとるのって気持ちよさそうですよね。
I assume we're going to be having breakfast with her sometime soon. I looked at the side of Yua's face as she whispered that. If life were an eroge, this is where she'd confess her love. Then we'd lean in, kiss, and the good end credits would roll. And who knows, if the situation called for it, maybe we'd get straight into some exhibitionism. JK.
私も今度やってみようかな。
Yeah, that's what's actually going to happen. Yua turned and looked up at me. Unable to find the words to say, I looked down at Yua's bag. Cursing my inability to maintain eye contact with the girl, I stared instead at the 3 Garo Froggy straps hanging from her bag. Oh, it's delusion time. Hold on. Wait a minute. Yeah, so he's thinking of... Yeah, because Sis has them. Something about this scene was really nagging at me. And that thing was the Garo Froggies, characters that were popular with high school girls. I'd seen those exact ones before, hadn't I? Where, though? It was the fucking hell, the place he goes to where he does, like, some gaming. It's the net cafe, right? I just couldn't put my finger on it. I definitely felt like I'd seen them before, but I just couldn't remember where. Was my memory really that bad? I'd always been confident in my memorization skills, and they never failed to help me score well on my test. I was pretty smart, after all. So why were they failing me now and at such an important time, or at least what felt like one? Where? Where had I seen them before? Felt that if I took a closer look at the Garo Froggies, maybe then I'd remember. As for what would happen next, though, I didn't know. I just wanted to stop feeling so hopelessly lost, so I almost subconsciously extended my hand and reached for the bundle of Garo Froggies. Whoa, strong reaction. Oh, we got slapped? Suddenly, Yua slapped my hand away. Huh? I don't think it was the Garo Froggies. I think she's got shit in her bag that we absolutely cannot see. I don't know what. I don't know where to go with this, but oh yeah. Oh, the intrigue is building. What had just happened? I was dumbfounded. Yua looked away from me, then awkwardly started to get up off the bench. But as she did, her hand hit the 3 Garo Froggies that were hanging from her bag. Interesting. Oh, sorry. I pressed the wrong button. There we go. And almost as if in slow motion, her bag slowly fell off the bench. Oh my god. What's about to get revealed? And crashed to the ground. This is going to be wild. Awkward. We're going to help you. Oh my god. Oh my god. So nothing there. I can't make anything out, but I just thought of an idea. What if she thinks we're the new gen killer? That'd be crazy. The bag was unzipped, so all of her notebooks and textbooks spilled out onto the ground.
私ったら何をやってるんでしょう
Just a few minutes ago. That'd be crazy if, like, she's into that thought. I might have even thought of Yua's ditziness as Moe, but at the present moment I was just frozen in place, and that was because he sees something. One of the fallen notebooks had flipped open. Tons of notes and newspaper snippets were scattered across the ground. It's gonna be new gen, but I wonder but see, the thing is he thinks the pink-haired girl is, you know, that and Shogun. It looked like it was some sort of scrapbook, and all of the notes, all of the newspaper snippets, everything was focused on a certain string of cases. Absolutely new gen. Its name was written there clear as day. New gen. Yep. Oh no, the music changed. Or started. My voice came out ragged. Yua, in a panic, started frantically gathering everything up and shoving it back into her bag. See, all the girls he's going to interact with have a connection to new gen. Like, that's what it's going to come down to. But what that means is anyone's guess at this point. Once she did, she held the bag close to her chest and stood up. She looked toward me and nodded, her expression intensely uncomfortable. Her smile from before was nowhere to be found.
それは
Yeah, I was gonna say, you got some splaining to do. Yua didn't answer. Why wouldn't she talk to me? Please just say something, anything. Even still, she said nothing, which meant she must have realized that she'd been caught red-handed. I'd wanted to trust her so badly, and I'd been just starting to think that maybe Yua was actually on my side, that she could have been an ally.
誰も信じちゃダメ誰の言葉にも耳を傾けちゃダメ
Yeah, those are his delusions. God damn it. In the end, Sarah was right. 3D girls were the worst pieces of shit imaginable. Every last one of them. Classic. Yua never liked me at all. She only wanted to get close because she had ulterior motives. Maybe she wanted to turn me into the police? Or maybe she wanted to blackmail me? God damn it. God fucking damn it. I'd almost forgotten all about that incident, yet here we go again. Yep, everything comes back to new gen. The police had never questioned me, so I thought that maybe, just maybe, I could go on pretending it had nothing to do with me. All I wanted was to get away from those stupid murders, so why? What the hell was Yua really after here? No, I didn't even care anymore. I just wanted to run as far away as I could, so I went to turn around. But Yua quickly grabbed my wrist.
逃げるの
Oh, the way she said that was like confident. Her voice sent chills down my spine, yeah. Her tone was so cold it felt like my body might freeze over. It didn't even feel like she was the same person. It wasn't the Yua I thought I knew, yeah. And her grip? Her grip was way tighter than I'd ever expected. It wasn't normal. Jolts of pain ran through my arm. My bones felt like they were being crushed. I tried to shake her off me, but she wouldn't let go. In fact, she was pulling me toward her, practically pinning my arm behind her back. Or behind my back, whatever. There, she said it again. But from behind me, right by my ear, I heard a whisper that crushed any emotion I had left. With a shiver, I slowly turned around. Whoa! Whoa! The intensity of her eyes! That's a shot to see. Okay, so now her persona has, like, shifted now, and now she's, like, serious, scary lady. She was staring at me. There was no longer any color left in those eyes of hers. What the hell? Interesting. Oh shit. I'm hiding things? Only a single thing crossed my mind. Somehow she knew that I had witnessed that staking murder. She knew that I had seen the perpetrator. And that was most likely why she tried to get close to me. I knew she was good, too good. She'd had me wrapped around her little finger. Everything she'd told me was a lie. Her taking an interest in me from just one glance, her liking Bloodtune, her arranging to go with me to go pick up the Sarah Post-Awakening version figure from the store when it went on sale. All her nice little comments as she'd listened to what I had to say, her wanting to get to know me better, her being worried about me when I didn't come to school, her saying that she respected me. Everything that came from her mouth had been a lie. That thought killed me inside. I was overwrought with grief. I tightly clenched my fists. Fuck, fuck, fuck! Why had I believed a single fucking thing she'd said? Interesting. Yeah, I think we're gonna listen, Yua. Yeah, I understand, ma'am. Oh shit. What? What'll happen if I don't listen? Yeah, that definitely came off as a huge threat. Yua felt like a completely different person, yeah, because it seems like that was all an act. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was maybe a little bit of genuine sauce in there. But yeah, no, she's acting like a completely different person, no doubt. The gentle and carefree atmosphere from before was gone. She felt completely unapproachable now. The atmosphere felt bizarre, like one molded from utter obsession. Her tone was as composed as could be, though perhaps cold as ice was a better description. Her usual femininity had disappeared without a trace. No, I didn't want to listen. I tried to cover my ears, but I couldn't. Yua was holding on to one of my arms. Her grip was weaker than a second ago, but she still didn't let go. I couldn't move my hand. And while we were in that deadlock, she took a dark gray, shiny object from her bag and held it out to me. Is it going to be one of the stakes? Yep. Oh, yeah. We know what that is. I was petrified. My heart skipped a beat. Any composure I had left was gone. I was so shocked that hand that was going to cover my ear just fell to my side. Before long, Yua's voice, now sounding almost regretful, reached my ears. Yeah, we have absolutely seen this cross before. Of course, I'd definitely seen it before. I wasn't sure what it was at first, but I quickly realized. It might have looked like a cross, but it was, in fact, a stake. And stakes with such a unique shape were not something you'd see every day. No, definitely not. Definitely a stake that's meant to look like a cross. Very symbolic shit right here. Very Ava shit going on with this. Or at the very least, I had only come across them once. Yeah, oh yeah, that night scattered across that alleyway. Love it. Oh my god, and there's the pink-haired girl. That night as the demon girl nailed them into the wall. That's actually a really cool shot. Oh, and there's that shot again. That night as a corpse was being nailed onto the wall. Yeah, I definitely do. Yep. Very matter-of-fact character, though. So, like, I can see some of the way she acted before in here. It's just the confidence is so different.
てるよね。
I frantically shook my head in denial. A disgusting cold sweat broke out on my brow. All I could do was wipe it away as I kept shaking my head as hard as I could.
これ、あなたの部屋にあったのよ。
I had a feeling it was the one that he took.
あなたの部屋、ベッドの下、床に落ちてた。落ちてたの。落としたよね。それとも捨てた？とにかく落ちてた。落ちてたの。
Who the hell was this girl? Yeah, I don't know. See, like, I don't know what to make of, like, yeah, so it's like, I wonder if that's what's going on, though, because you had that one girl from school earlier today, and she was, like, you know, focused on him, and I wonder, for all we know, she could be stalking us right now. I actually wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But, like, it's like all these girls are, like, have a connection to New Gen, whatever it is, and, like, we're, like, being dragged into this, whatever this is, but we're being dragged into this whole scenario because by sheer happenstance, but it's gonna drag us into this whole sequence of events that we're about to be a part of for the rest of this story. When the fuck had she searched my room? Was it the day we'd first met? When my leg got injured and she'd come all the way to my room with me? When she'd seen my Sarah figures and her face lit up all cute like a fucking Christmas tree?
この杭、外国製のすごく珍しい杭なのよ。
Interesting.
それと、ニュージェネ第3の事件で使われた杭と同じ。
Yep, there it is.
同じなの。同じよね。同じなのは間違いない。同じよ。
She keeps doing that. That's like a thing that she does. She's reiterating the same thing multiple times in a slightly different wording.
遺体を壁に貼り付けにした杭と。同じ。
Yep. Onaji. I was convinced. This woman thought that I was the culprit behind New Gen. She thought I was some kind of insane cutthroat murderer. Did she think she was a detective or something? What, did she call herself Kusunoki Yua Ace High School Detective or some shit? Love it. Love it. Fucking kill yourself, actually! That shit might have worked in anime or video games. Love it. But this was real life, and little did she know her reasoning had a fatal flaw. I knew who the real killer was. I'd seen her with my own 2 eyes. I'd seen that demon myself. Sure, I didn't know her name, but she'd been wearing the Suimei uniform, which meant that she was someone I could know.
だから
Yua suddenly hung her head and let out a small sigh. She loosened her grip on my wrist even more, then finally let go.
それ以上でもそれ以下でもないです。ただ、あなたが知ってるかどうかを確かめたかっただけ。本当はまだ言うつもりじゃなかったですし。
Interesting. What the fuck had she meant by yet?
それじゃあ、もう一つ確認させてください。
Interesting.
あなたには予知能力があります。
Ah! Excuse me? Do I have precognitive powers? I mean, I know what precognition is, but we are gonna read what they want to the tip. Precognition, noun, to know what is going to happen in advance. To foresee an unusual phenomenon, also known as foresight or foreknowledge. To know what is going to happen in the future before it actually happens. The term does not refer to predictions based on experience, information, or statistics, but rather a special sense that transcends humanity's natural perception. It has not been scientifically proven to exist. The way it manifests differs from person to person, with the most common being visions and prophetic dreams. Belief in precognition has existed since ancient times, where shrine maidens were also often heralded as carriers. Psychics and fortune tellers are the modern incarnation of this belief, but there are many false actors who enjoy taking advantage of the superstition, claiming that they have precognitive powers in order to swindle others. Yeah, that's a crazy question. That's a really interesting thing. I mean, especially in a game called ChäoS Head.
Huh?
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I thought I was the delusional one. I couldn't help but just stand there with my mouth open. Precognitive powers? What the fuck? What did that have to do with the incidents? This time, that's a justified what the fuck. I tilted my head to the side, utterly perplexed. As I did, Yua's hand retreated into her bag once more, before taking out a picture printed in full color.
予知能力があるって思わなきゃ納得できないような画像データをあなたが持っていたから。
Is this going to be the picture that was sent to us by Shogun? The picture was that grotesque one Shogun had sent me. Why did Yua have it?
これ
あなたはどうしてニュージェネ第3の事件の再現画像を持っているんですか？しかもこの画像が流出したのは事件の前日です。
Huh.
あなたの使った PC にキャッシュが残ってました。
How the fuck did you do all this? What the hell?
違う
I'd gotten that image earlier that day when I chatted with Shogun. I hadn't made it myself. I downloaded it, so it must have still been in my history. That's it, I'll just show Yua that. Still though, how had Yua even gotten this image in the first place? She'd said it'd been in my computer's cache, but how would she have known that? When you had come into my room, she definitely hadn't had the time to snoop around my PC.
まさか君が将軍か
Was she trying to frame me? It was all set up by Yua. She was the new gen killer, and now she was going to use me as a scapegoat in order to throw out the police, wasn't she? The problem with that is that you theoretically saw probably the new gen killer, and that was the pink-haired girl.
助けて
It was all too much. Why did it have to be me, of all people? Was it because I was a freak? Was it because I had no friends? Yua didn't say a word. She just shook her head lightly.
その画像はアットカフェルーム37の PC から拾ったんです。
Interesting.
あなたの PC もできれば調べたかったんですけど、その機会はさすがにありませんでした。
Of course, that makes sense. Room 37, that was the one I always used. This bitch really did her research. Yua looked at me with a slightly apologetic look. It almost felt like she'd turned back into the new Yua I knew, if only for a moment. And while that happened, she started fishing around in her bag once more, but this time she took out a page with text on it and held it out to me. I had a bad feeling about this. Alarm bells were going off in my head, telling me not to look. But there was no way I could ignore it, because if I did, then I'd surely end up being framed. I wonder, is this gonna be like a text chat with Shogun?
それが
Everything there
あなたのすべてです。
is you. What? What the hell was that supposed to mean? That means she had all my personal information too? Was Yua some sort of hacker? Possibly. I reached out and grabbed the printout, all while my heart was pounding out of my chest. But to my surprise, the page didn't have my personal information. It was just some chat log. Oh. The two members of the chat log were Neidhart and Shogun, right? Shogun. Dude, am I gonna be right? Is he Shogun?
そのログ変ですよね。
Is he Shogun actually though? That'd be crazy. Dude, all of a sudden, the game's like, okay, time to cook. It really did take a turn. What was so strange about it? Looked like a perfectly normal chat log to me. I definitely remember having this conversation. I mean... By the way, where are you chatting from? Oh. It's the timestamps. Yeah, the timestamps are weird. I mean, at least from what we can see on this page, the timestamps are, like, really weird. What's so strange about it? It looked like a perfectly normal chat log to me. I definitely remembered having this conversation with Shogun.
ナイト・ハルトと将軍の
Yeah, it's the timestamps.
発言時間が全然噛み合ってないんです。
No, they don't. I mean, that could be a manifestation of precognition. It could also be he's delusional and they're the same person, of course. Yeah. Huh? What the hell? How is this possible?
そこにあるナイト・ハルトは西条区。
Yes.
発言時間は9月28日の午前3時台。
Yep.
そして翌日、あなたはアットカフェに行ってます。
and sent the messages at Shogun, as Shogun, and at Cafe. What the fuck?
西条くんがアットカフェに行くのは学校帰りと決まってる。
No, that's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
そして学校に行くのは週に 2.5 回。あなたのクラスメイトから聞いたんですけど、先週あなたが学校に来た日は月曜日、水曜日、木曜日。
Yep.
先週の月曜日は9月29日。
Yes, it was.
将軍の発言時間と同じ日です。
No, there's what in the world? Oh, this is already awesome. Dude, I'm so curious where this is going. What? What was she talking about?
ルーム37の PC のチャットログを調べさせてもらいました。
And it was Shogun.
そこから分かったことは、
For just a moment, Yua hesitated. Then she stared straight at me before breaking the cold, unfeeling truth to me.
あなた一人の自作自演。
That's insane. Oh, don't look at me. Oh, that was cool.
将軍は
Oh, don't look at me.
あなた自身。
Oh, shit. Oh! It's like the TV turn. Is he about to?
何も見たくない。
Is he about? I was about to say, is he about to see it become Shogun?
何も聞きたくない。時間は一定じゃない。
Huh.
記憶には矛盾がある。
Time is not a constant. There are contradictions in my memories.
視界にはエラーがある。
There are errors in my point of view. Oh, this is so cool. And the way they like turned off the TV, turned off the computer.
地球は回ってない。
Oh man, this game's just getting started and you could tell they're gonna cook so hard with this. And like the unreliable narrator thing, which like we were already like, it was obvious that was gonna be an element of this, but they've just ramped it up. I'm surprised we got a Shogun reveal this fast though. I will say, I did not expect, I thought the Shogun thing would go a lot longer before we'd figure out who Shogun is.
これはきっとゲームなんだ。
That's funny. What? What in the world? I stuffed my mouth with some fish sausage as I turned on my PC. What is this transition?
僕じゃない。
Before long, my monitor shone brightly with my Seroton wallpaper.
僕がいるべき世界は。
What the fuck? I went straight to ESO and opened it without an ounce of hesitation.
ここじゃないんだ。
What the hell does that mean? Do I dare? Is there any possibility that this is some weird, like, it's going to be at a different set? But again, this is science adventure. And I don't want to get too into Steins Gate, but is there something like that going on here? Oh, that's the end of chapter 1. What the hell? What the hell? That's where chapter 1 ends. Holy shit. What in the world? Okay. Dude. That's crazy. What in the world? What a way to end chapter 1. I mean, this is going to be a young Takumi, presumably, but holy shit. I wasn't prepared for that. But hey, we finished chapter 1. That's a yeah, I guess it was just our quick save, so that's fine, I guess. Maybe I should do a real save for now, I guess. But that's crazy, dude. That was awesome. We're only an hour in, so we're obviously not ending the episode there. We'll have to find a better place to end the episode, but that was crazy. That was a great way to end chapter 1, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, wow, okay. So we get the Shogun reveal at the end of chapter 1. Yua turns out to be a lot more different than she was initially posing herself as. There's a lot to digest from just that episode. There was a lot to digest from, obviously all of chapter 1, but especially that ending of chapter 1. And, like, those final lines from Takumi were kind of metal as fuck. So I'm, like, super excited to see where we go from here. So, yeah, let's Man, let's go. Let's jump into. Let's just jump right into chapter 2, which was called. No, I don't want that. What was it called? It was called. Click Me. Yes. So yeah, Eyes and Eyes, and now chapter 2 is Click Me. Vroom vroom, quick, get on it. Get on if you're going on the field trip. All aboard. Lying face down on the floor, Nishijo Takumi. Okay, so this is a third person. This is a outside narrator. Nishijo Takumi held a colored pencil in his hand. The one he was currently using was yellow, having switched from a red one only a few minutes ago. He joyously ran his pencil across the spread out sketchbook, which he was nearly lying on top of. Takumi loved drawing pictures. He would always doodle on the edges of his notes during every lesson at school. The morning news had been left running in the background, but since news and the like was boring to a fourth grader like Takumi, he did not pay it any mind. Vroom vroom, candy! Get your candy here, only 300 yen! He was drawing a yellow bus and pretending he was the driver. All ashore, that's going ashore, we're heading out, vroom! As he imagined the scene in his head, he made it actually happen in the picture. Times where he would get too excited and accidentally draw on the tatami beneath him were not exactly infrequent. Yeah, you could see that little bit, the end of the vroom, at the edge of the, just above the colored pencil case. Nanami, who would always read manga beside him, would scold him each time he did it. She had some nerve, considering she was the little sister, usually saying things along the lines of, "Oh, come on, don't get the floor all dirty." Even so, Takumi never became any less immersed in his art. This is interesting lore, too, because there's been no mention of him being... Oh, yeah, you could also see it with the car, with that, like, light blue color there. Below the notebook, bottom right corner of the notebook. There's been no mention of him being an artist in any sense. However, or at one point, at least. This is interesting lore drop here. However, when he got to the point of drawing the people in the window, his hand suddenly stopped. You can't draw people, huh? Then he ripped up the sketchbook and threw it away. Huh. On the previous day, on the day when the autumn field trip had only been one more day away, Takumi had suddenly been told by his parents that he couldn't go. Even though it had been something he had been looking forward to for a very long time. So much so that he had been in a constant state of excitement for the entire day, wanting the next to arrive as soon as possible. That cruel declaration from his parents was something that Takumi absolutely could not accept. He kicked and screamed, saying he would definitely go no matter what, but it was no use. His parents would not listen no matter what he said, choosing only to repeat the same words again and again. You just can't. We're doing this for you, Takumi. Interesting. Takumi sank into his bed and trembled with so much frustration. He was very close to ripping his futon to shreds. He resented his parents from the bottom of his heart. For Takumi, that field trip had been a big, big event that could not have come soon enough. Everyone else in his class could go, but he alone was not allowed to. From his perspective, that was beyond unreasonable. Takumi was in a lonely world. Everyone else was in a super fun world. To him, it felt like he alone had been completely cut off from it. He could not forgive the teacher, his classmates, anyone. They had all left him behind. So this is where it begins, right? And he especially could not forgive his parents for their sudden, unfair decision. Those feelings transformed into pure hatred toward his parents and toward all of his classmates. Takumi bit his lip hard enough to draw blood. He muttered curses at them over and over. Interesting. I don't think anyone should be allowed to go. If I can't go, no one can. The following morning arrived. The phone had been ringing over and over again since dawn. Each time his mother would pick up the phone, she seemed to be very shaken while talking. Takumi could not even get a wink of sleep. The clock passed 9 a.m. In her usual well-behaved manner, Nanami was sitting on a floor cushion reading manga. She had told Takumi the day before, "I'm going to take a break from school to keep you company, Kay," as if she thought it was the obvious thing for her to do. Their father had already gone to work, so he was not around. Their mother was very busy with the phone calls and had yet to prepare breakfast. There was no need for him to go to school that day. Sullen as he was, Takumi opened his sketchbook and began drawing to distract himself. His feelings of rage refused to subside, so he tore up the sketchbook in frustration. As he did that, however,
あれこのバス
Nanami sounded puzzled. Takumi had thought she was talking about his picture, but her gaze was actually aimed at the TV. The bus crashed and all the kids died.
ねえお母さん
Nanami called out loudly to her mother, who was still busy with the phone calls. Now listening, Takumi followed his sister's gaze and stared vacantly at the TV screen. The screen displayed a scene of a collapsed elevated highway. A section that was only about 50 meters long had fallen. Regrettably, a bus driving along there at the time had been caught up in the collapse, toppling onto its side beneath the overpass. What the Death Note is going on? What in the fuck? It was the very same bus that Takumi should have been on. The bus his classmates were riding on. From just a single glance, Takumi could imagine exactly what had happened. His classmates were on the screen. One child was sobbing, another had blood all across their forehead, and another was lying atop a stretcher being carried into an ambulance. The reporter was announcing the state of the accident with a grave look on their face. But Takumi did not really understand what they were talking about. Unless his parents somehow knew. What in the world? Like, that's so coincidental that, like, what?
タクちゃん大変よ
His mother was standing at the entrance to the room, holding a cordless phone. Her face was pale.
遠足のバスが高速道路で事故に遭っちゃったんだってそれ今テレビでやってるそれで斉藤先生が
Oh, Mr. Saito die? Yep, died. For some reason, Takumi was already sure of this. What in the world? Everything happening on the TV was eerily similar to what he had pictured in his head the night before when he had been overwhelmed by frustration and hatred. So that gets to the whole precognition thing. Like, is that just a simple manifestation of precognition that he just saw the future? Or is it more terrifying? Like, does he have some influence over it? Like, what in the world? There was only one feeling that occupied the depths of his mind, a peculiar conviction. One where he was sure that he had precognitive abilities. Whoa. Long ago, a show on TV that examined people who claimed to have ESP had been etched into Takumi's mind. A person with precognitive abilities had appeared on the show, shocking the world by demonstrating frightening ESP in the experiment. The experiment verified whether or not the psychic could guess which of 12 items were placed in which number box. They did this by placing the subject in a different room and proceeding to have them predict which cards with the item name on them belonged to which box. Afterwards, staff members in the other room would place the actual items into boxes, then verify how many the psychic foretold. The person on the show received an incredible 90%, causing an uproar among the entertainers. As this happened, Takumi tested if he could predict things the same way the psychic did on TV did, only to get every single one correct. Of course, he did not tell anyone else about this. Interesting! Okay, this is not something I was expecting in the slightest from Chaos Head, given where we started, but the name's making even more sense. Like, delusions is one thing, but supposedly precognition as well. So as he gazed up at the TV, he believed that the accident was yet another instance of his precognitive predictions being exactly right.
クラスの半数以上の子が怪我したらしくて
Yikes.
なんてこと
His mother tried hugging him as he lay down, but Takumi avoided her grasp and crawled to the corner of the room.
でも本当によかったわ
Her eyes swam about as she whispered in a hollow voice.
今日タクちゃんを休ませておいて本当によかった
Interesting. Takumi felt sick. They were useless, he thought to himself. His abilities had not made a single difference. Just thinking about it made his heart turn to ice in an instant. After that, Takumi stopped speaking to others for a while. He quite literally went mute. He did not say a single word to another soul. His parents worried about him, and their already overprotective habits escalated even further. Finding them to be acting more and more ridiculous, Takumi thus decided to play the role of a moot boy. He thought of it as revenge against them. Due to his complete lack of talking, his mother took him to be seen in the psychiatry ward of the General Hospital, and there he was diagnosed with PTSD. Since Takumi did not actually have PTSD or anything of the sort, he never once took his medicine, he merely pretended to. His parents never realized he was acting, and in the end he didn't feel even a hint of pity as they worried themselves sick over him. Huh. Oh? And we're back. Okay, that's a lot of lore. That's a big lore drop. Holy shit. I mean, crazy end to chapter 1 and then crazy start to chapter 2. Oh my god. In ways, it did kind of remind me of the start to chapter 1, even though this one was all about, like, again, lore drop and shit, but wow. Everything feels like a lie. The world was filled with falsities. It was overflowing with malice. It was out to get me.
いつもあなたが使っているチャットルームへログインして自分で調べてみてください。私の言っていることが間違っていないってわかるはずです。それと、私が言ったことは全部本心です。これだけは信じて。
Aw. Damn. That's tough. After bombarding me with her nonsensical theories, Yua had said one last thing before she'd left. There was no way I could believe her. How the hell was I supposed to believe someone that had been lying to me this entire time? I refused to believe that everything there was me, like Yua had said. Everything she'd said about me being Shogun was a total joke. I wanted to believe that. But when I checked the timestamps in the chat log, there was no mistaking that the conversation wasn't matching up.
僕は無遊病なの。
I mean, again, we know what sleepwalking is, but let's read it. Also known as somnambulism or noctambulism, a behavior disorder in which during sleep, especially non-REM, the subject gets up as if they were conscious, wanders around, eats, bathes, etc., but cannot converse beyond simple topics. Depending on the individual, the state can last anywhere from a few minutes to half an hour. At the end of that time frame, the individual returns to the place where they were initially sleeping and goes back to sleep. While in this state, the individual is completely unconscious and as such has no memory of their actions once they wake up. This behavior often occurs in people with mental problems and is often said to be caused unconsciously by stress. Problem was, during the time Shogun appeared to be posting in chat, I hadn't been sleeping at all. If I recalled correctly, I had indeed been at Cafe at that time, but I hadn't slept, so I couldn't have been sleepwalking. In that case, I wondered why I didn't have any memories of posting as Shogun. It's like a alternate, what's it called? Like a split personality situation? Maybe my body had been under someone else's control, which would mean... No, that's ridiculous. I felt that the best way to calm myself down was to escape from reality into the fictional world of ESO. In ESO, everything was fake, a lie. At the end of the day, its world was just part of a video game. But in Baselard, I could become the godlike existence known as Neidhart. A fabrication like that, a lie like that, was something I'd readily accept. I wanted to stay there. Nobody would mind if I did, would they? Or maybe the world of ESO was actually the real world, and my own reality was the fake one, just a game. In that case, Nishijo Takumi would be a fictional character, and Neidhart would be my true form.
ねえ、ナイトハルト。
I called out to the paladin standing inside the monitor. Am I controlling you, or are you controlling me? Which is it? Could you be real, and I a mere avatar? What if the world I was in was just a game in and of itself? If that were true, that would solve every mystery I was struggling with. What if, just like how I was staring at Neidhart within my monitor, what if someone was staring at me in the exact same way? Oh, Chiyomaru, you dumbass. I love you. Very meta. Whose eyes are those eyes? Ah! It's so good. That would make them the player controlling me. It's so good. If I did have someone controlling me, would it kill them to do less of a shit job? Though I guess an avatar couldn't really complain. It would also explain how Shogun and I could be the same person, validating that theory. Come to think of it, it was kind of like what Lisa Lot was. Neidhart and Lisa Lot couldn't possibly exist in Baselar at the same time. I was the only one playing as them, after all. Maybe Shogun and Nishijo Takumi were similar, and they also couldn't exist in the world at the same time. That actually might be the case. It was also possible that it was a bug. Speaking of bugs, encountering that bizarre girl in a murder case, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff that happened, could have been bugs too. Yep, there it is. There's the picture. The image Shogun had sent to me flashed through my mind. I gripped my head with my hands and frantically shook it away. I wanted to run away from everything. If, maybe, just maybe, there was a player controlling me. Please reset me already. No thanks. Just remake my character and start from scratch, please. Oh, they did the thing. It did the thing again. Oh, and we're going back to the flashbacks. Interesting. Okay. The waiting room of the university hospital was filled to the brim with middle-aged people waiting to be examined. The view hadn't changed from a few years prior. It almost made me feel as if time itself had stopped there. Moreover, everyone there looked miserable, and the smell of disinfectant pervaded the stagnant air. It was the kind of place that sucked all the life out of you and made you wish for the sweet embrace of death in 5-minute stops. I didn't like hospitals. Sure. The way the lobby... I'm not gonna lie, I mean, sure it is a hospital, but that does kind of look like a prison. Just a little bit. I mean, I guess it's a little clean, but I don't know. That something about this place looks a little sus. The way the lobbies had countless people, yet the corridors beyond felt completely devoid of them, it always freaked me out ever since I was a little kid. It almost felt like the corridors themselves absorbed and stewed in the stench of death. I always felt like that was what a hospital truly represented beyond its outer facade. I even thought that some horrifying creature was lying in wait deep within the corridors. Interesting. That was why I really didn't want to go there, but there was something I had to make sure of no matter what, so I found myself reluctantly waiting my turn in line for an examination. Even when I tried to fully immerse myself in ESO, the bombshell that Yua had dropped on me continued to swirl around and around inside my head, and I hadn't been able to concentrate for even a second. As a result, my mind had been torturing me with all the various possibilities all the way until morning, and I'd become genuinely scared that something was wrong with me. That was why I went to the hospital to get an official stamp of approval from a medical professional that said, Nishijo Takumi is completely normal. I wanted to prove that it wasn't me who was abnormal, but Yua. I was used to coming to the hospital psych ward, and yet when the grill at the reception asked, "Is this your first time?" I nodded without thinking. Interesting. Yeah, I knew what grill meant. I've used that before, but I love that the description was literally just girl. Ever since that bus accident, my mother had regularly taken me here for checkups. During middle school, my physician had said that I'd completely recovered, and I stopped going after that. This was my first time coming back in about 4.5 years. My first physician had been some senile professor who was supposed to have some authority in this field, but I'd only seen him a few times, and after that, someone else had taken over, a student of his or something. I don't know, this looks kind of sus. Although, despite calling himself the other guy's student, he hadn't been particularly young. To be honest, he looked pretty old. The night before, I was reminded of something that Dr. Takashina had said.
ここは病気や怪我だけじゃなくて、心にも効く病院なんだよ。
I hated hospitals, but that doctor had been very nice. He'd left a good impression on me, and I thought he was a good person. Well, even then, I'd still thoroughly fooled all the adults to the very end. That is, except Dr. Takashina. He'd seen through it all, and he was the one that declared me completely recovered. Huh.
あの人に調べてもらえれば。
Interesting. I actually am going to write down Dr. Takashina's name. I'm not going to describe him or add any notes, but I feel like this character might be important. I wonder what he'd say if he learned that I'd become an otaku freak. Nah, there was no way he'd remember me after all this time. Nah, you'd be surprised. There was a lot of time to delude there. Long delusion trigger. I had to wait 3 hours before my name was finally called. It was a different examination room than the one from 4 years ago, but when I stepped inside, I was welcomed with a face I remembered dearly. The doctor was exactly what you'd think of when you imagined a kind old man. His face definitely looked older than most, yet also soft at the same time, and his demeanor only served to emphasize those qualities. He hadn't changed a bit since I'd last seen him 4 years prior. It almost made me wonder if he was physically incapable of getting any older, though I'd never known his actual age in the first place. The desire for me to latch onto him and never let go became stronger and stronger. I could rely on him. He could save me. I felt incredibly happy to see him again. But the first thing that came out of his mouth was,
今日はどうしました?
Okay, yeah, we have a full-blown sprite, so this is a real character. Few notes here. Okay, Dr. Takashina, nice to meet you. Fumiya Takashina? I'm just gonna call him Dr. Takashina. His voice was indeed gentle and filled with a kindness to calm the hearts of others. However, it didn't carry the same familiarity that it had back when I'd been visiting the hospital regularly. Felt like he was only interacting with me on a purely professional level. So I couldn't help but tell him my name.
西条です。
ん? ああ、これはご丁寧に。
Yeah, he doesn't remember you, bro.
高階です。はじめまして。
Yeah. He bowed his head cheerfully. I was lost for words. It's a pleasure to meet you. That was what he'd just said. He'd completely forgotten me. I shouldn't be surprised. It'd been 4 years after all. But I truly believed that Dr. Takashina of all people would remember me. Maybe that was arrogant, but I'd hoped for it all the same. So my heart was overwhelmed with loneliness and emptiness when those expectations were smashed to pieces. Felt like my very existence was being denied. Dr. Takashina started talking to me while making eye contact, but I averted my eyes.
無遊病かどうか調べてほしいと書いてあるが、何かあったのかな?
Right, I'd written that on the questionnaire, but it was all meaningless now. He didn't remember me at all.
別にいいじゃん。
Classic Sarah delusion time. Let's go. Nah, it gets me every time that like her nipples are poking out of her. It's not even a top. I don't even know. It's not really a bra even because it has underboob. I don't know what the fuck to even call that. That fabric covering her tits. That's what I'll call it, I guess.
先生が覚えてようが覚えてなかろうが関係ないっしょ。最初の目的を忘れちゃダメ。
Sure. Oh, right. I hadn't come here to meet Dr. Takashina. I'd come here to prove that I was a completely healthy and sane human being. Our reunion was merely a bonus. Who gives a shit if he'd forgotten me? If Saraton hadn't stepped in and given me that advice, I would have come dangerously close to losing sight of myself. Phew!
自分でも知らないうちに外に出かけててパソコンで文章打っててそれを全く覚えてないなんてありえますか?
おお。
知り合いからそう指摘されて混乱しちゃって。
Yep.
その知り合いの人が冗談を言っているっていう可能性はあると思うかい?
Probably not. Yua's eyes had been serious. It hadn't looked at all like she was messing with me. At the very least, I had no doubt that Yua believed what she said.
わかりません。
なるほど。ちなみに、その知り合いとはどういう関係だろう? 恋人?
Yeah, that's complicated. Also, I feel like that's a very unnecessary question. Where the hell did that come from, and what did it have to do with anything? Was I missing something here? Yeah, I have to agree with Takumi on this one.
いや、言い方が悪かったかな。じゃあ言い直そう。
Okay.
その知り合いの人は、君が意識もないまま歩き回っているのを 実際に目撃したのかな？
No. Oh, so that was what he meant. I shook my head.
じゃあ、証拠はないわけだ。
I once again shook my head.
そいつ、探偵気取りって、いろいろ証拠を突きつけてきて。
そういうことか。ちなみに、これまでにも無遊病の兆候はあったかい？
いえ。
朝目覚めたらいつものベッドじゃなくて違う場所で寝てたっていうことは過去に一度でもあった？
いえ。
じゃあその知り合いに言われたのが初めてっていうことだね。
After nodding weakly, I steeled myself and spoke.
僕、寝てないんです。
もしかして怖いのかな？でもそんなに深刻になる必要はないよ。
Interesting.
いや、
That's not what I meant. But I couldn't figure out how to explain it, and it was too late to say it out loud anymore. I was too flustered. Oh, is he realizing that he's not going to sleep? That, like, these transitions to night aren't actually him falling asleep, so he doesn't actually remember going to sleep at all? So he's been potentially, like, switching between personalities at certain points. After scribbling something on a medical form, Dr. Takashina swiveled away from me in his chair and leaned forward toward the back of the examination room.
葉月くん、ちょっと。
Oh, we got a Hazuki.
はい。
Four Eyes fan made Hazuki wear glasses. Oh, this was like has to do with like, yeah, I remember this was like a choice from like a while ago. Yeah, vaguely, that's like some stuff from the beginning. That's kind of funny. I do like my glasses. She does look good with glasses. That's cool though. That's like, I guess, like an optional thing. That's fun. I'm just gonna say Hazuki. That's fun, though. I wonder if that's like his a weird example of his precognitive abilities, though, because he was like, oh, I love the glasses. It's like, I don't know, she starts wearing glasses or something. The young nurse rushed over to him, and Dr. Takashina showed her the form. As he did so, he whispered for her to do something. She quickly withdrew to the back of the room. What had that been about? The doctor turned back toward my puzzled self. Then in a gentle voice, he began to explain to me how sleepwalking worked. When a person falls asleep, they first begin non-REM sleep before eventually progressing to REM sleep. Non-REM sleep is a deeper sleep where the brain hibernates and brain activity ceases. Meanwhile, REM sleep is a kind of sleep where the body is resting, but the brain is active in a state that's fairly close to being awake.
無遊病はノンレム睡眠の時に起きやすいって言われてる。
That lines up with what it said on the tip list.
脳が通常の活動をしていないから普通の受け答えとかは成立しにくいけど、ちゃんと返事もするし、階段などを踏み外さずに上り下りすることだってできる。
Yeah.
原因としては精神的なストレスを抱えてる時になりやすいんだ。
I mean, that part, you know, we'll see.
子供に多い症状だけど、成人でもよくある症状なんだよ。これでわかっただろ？深刻になることはないって言った意味が。
But I hadn't been sleeping. Even though I hadn't been sleeping, I'd still done things I didn't remember. The time Shogun had been posting from room 37 in the chat room should have been when I was busy playing ESO. Could sleepwalking really be possible there? I wanted to ask him that, but he was already moving to a different topic.
無遊病かどうかを調べる方法としてはいくつかある。一番手っ取り早いのはここのベッドで寝てもらうことだね。
Okay.
ただ特定条件じゃないと発生しない場合もあるかもしれない。例えば自分のベッドじゃないとダメとか。
Interesting.
意識がない状態で出歩くにしても 目的もなくふらふらと歩き続けるのか。
Interesting.
それとも何らかの脅迫観念があってそれに影響されて
That
何らか
seems more
の
likely.
一連の目的を持って出歩いているのか。
That seems more likely if this is a sleepwalking thing.
そ
But I
れ
don't
に
think it is.
君の精神状態についても特定の条件下じゃないとダメかもしれない。自宅のベッドの上ならリラックスできるけどここじゃリラックスのしようがないわけだ。どうする？とりあえず寝ていってみるかい？
I had nothing to lose, so I didn't see a reason not to try. Then, after I proved I wasn't sleepwalking, I could try asking the real question I had in mind. Interesting. The nurse from before, Hazuki-san or something, guided me over to the hospital bed located at the back of the room. As it wasn't a bed meant for sleeping, it was firm and uncomfortable. Then again, considering the sofa I usually slept on, that shouldn't pose any problems for me.
3時間くらいしたら起こしに来ますから。
Okay, sounds good. That says Haruki, not Hazuki, but whatever. Yeah, that's fine though. I've never heard Haduki, whereas Hazuki is the name, so I'm gonna honestly trust the dialogue, you know, on this one. This nurse was pretty damn cute. Yes, she is. As I lied on the bed, I took a quick peek at her face while being careful to avoid eye contact. Her baby face made her look kind of unreliable, and she even had this almost despondent aura about her, but she was doing her job pretty well. She felt like a heroine right out of a classic eroge, one with kinky hospital sex.
できるだけ目は離さないようにしていますので、安心して眠ってくださいね。
Nice. Basically, if symptoms of sleepwalking occurred, like I started wandering around on my own, she'd make sure I didn't get hurt or anything.
それでは、ごゆっくり。
Okay. After giving a slight smile, the nurse closed the curtain and left the hospital room. Now surrounded by a pure white curtain, I took a deep breath. Alright, let's get to sleep and see where this goes. All around me, I could hear the voices of doctors examining patients, the sound of nurses running around, and the sound of the door to the examination room opening and closing. Yeah, I doubted I'd be able to relax here. Could I actually fall asleep like this? It's worth a shot, bro. It's worth a shot. Figuring I had nothing to lose, I closed my eyes. No matter what I did, my mind refused to think of anything other than that corpse that had been massacred and crucified with stakes, as well as the gory pictures Shogun had sent me. So I forcibly conjured Seraton into my head. There she is. Oh, the delusion again.
タッキー、外出嫌いなのに病院来るなんてすごい。
Nice. Gotta love a Seraton illusion, though. Or
私
delusion.
前から思ってたんだけどさ、タッキーって実はすごく強い男の子だよね。
I mean, it's funny that this is what she's deluding, because it's actually very similar to what Yua was telling him, but like in a, you know, this is a more moe, more anime style, like cutesy way of saying it. Sarah animatedly moved around and about in my delusion. Her cute voice chirped for me.
私、そんなタッキーの強さが好き。
Tsuki!
それに、タッキーは無遊病なんかじゃないよ。私、毎日タッキーのこと見てるもん。だからわかるさ。
Ah, gosh darn Taki expert, huh?
三次元女になんか騙されちゃダメだぞ。タッキーには、私がいるっしょ。
Righto!
またコンテナハウスで二人きりで過ごそうね。ボケなす。
Oh, and there's the ya big dum dum. Seraton, you're so cute, Seraton. She really was my ideal waifu. There wasn't a single woman better than her. I do like her design. Like, as funny as the nips poking out are, like, her design is pretty cute. I'm not gonna deny that. And her sword thing looks pretty cool, too. 3D? The fuck was that? Ugh, I want to go home already. I want to go home and have Seraton welcome me back with home with a smile. Wait for me, okay, Seraton? I'll be coming home soon. Famous last words. He never goes back to the container for the rest of the story. Oh.
起きてください。時間ですよ。
Seraton softly placed her hand on my chest and gently rustled me awake. Ah, now this is the kind of thing I've always dreamt of. No, it's your nurse. Living together with Seraton. I'd have her wake me up every morning wearing nothing but an apron, complete with a wake-up kiss. Good lord.
西条さん
Yeah, and here we go. Back to back to reality. I slowly opened my eyes. Someone was looking down on me from above. I accidentally made eye contact with them. It was the nurse, Hazuki-san. I frantically looked around myself. Just like before, I was lying on the hospital bed. So everything from when Seraton had started talking to me was just a dream.
おはようございます。結局3時間ぐっすりでしたね。
Nice. A full 3 hours, but it felt like I hadn't slept any more than 5 minutes. As I rubbed my eyes in a daze, Hazuki-san glanced at me before covering her mouth as if she couldn't hold back a smile.
セイラさんって彼
Oh
女さん
no! Oh no! Oh no! Awkward!
ずっと寝言でつぶやいていましたから。
Get caught! Yeah, maybe best not to explain this one. Even I could tell that I was going pale. I'd made one hell of a mistake. How could I let someone hear my sleep talking? What's more, of all things I could have said, I blurted out Seraton's name. Fuck! So this is the Zetsubo! This is despair! I want to die. Love it.
でも無遊病の症状は結局出ませんでしたよ。
Yeah, that's not a surprise. Unfortunately, I think it's a lot worse than sleepwalking. She opened the curtain. Hazuki-san conveyed that to me.
まあ今日はたまたま症状が出なかっただけかもしれないから無遊病でないっていう断定はできないですけど。
No, I really don't think I'm a sleepwalker, so... More importantly, I had to ask the doctor that really important question. But I couldn't see him anywhere. So I looked around. Hazuki-san handed me a blank form. Not really focusing all that hard, I took it from her and ran my eyes over it. It was a fill-in-the-blank style form.
それはあなたの心理状態を把握するためのチェックシートです。心理テストのようなものね。それを書いてくれたら今日はもう帰っていいって先生が。
Interesting.
先生は
ごめんなさい。ずっと診察が続いてて。来週まで様子を見て、まだ改善が見られないようならもう一度来てくださいって。
Interesting. Then again, it wasn't like he was my primary physician or anything, I suppose. He'd probably just given Hazuki-san a bunch of directions to get me out of here. Well, I guess that meant there had been pretty much no point in me coming to the hospital today. I really wanted to ask Dr. Takashina about the someone that wasn't me controlling me. Whatever it meant, it was a really chilling symptom, so I didn't want to leave without getting an answer. That being said, I didn't have the courage to demand Hazuki-san bring him back to see me, especially when she already looked so apologetic. She seems like a sweet girl, yeah. Reluctantly, I decided to give the test a try. Guess I'd write about my symptoms on the back of the sheet or something. If I did that, I should be able to get another examination scheduled for next week.
チェックシートは質問に対してイエスかノーかだけを答える簡単なものですから。当てはまる点があったらイエスにチェックしてくださいね。今後の西條さんの治療に対する参考にしますから、じっくり考えて答えてください。
Hazuki-san went out of the way to explain the procedure thoroughly. The test had some strange questions mixed in, ones you normally wouldn't expect to run into at a hospital. There is like that weird part of me that's like, you know, because, and this is part of the nature of this game, and maybe it's Takumi getting in my head a little bit, of like, how much of this could be a psyop? Like, is this, are we getting like played, like by this hospital? Like, it's, you start thinking about conspiracy theories for everything, but so far, nothing too weird. The only weird thing was the girlfriend question, but he explained it decently enough. It really did seem like some sort of personality test. Would they really be able to actually learn something from questions like these? Hazuki-san stared at me intently. She showed no signs of leaving. But it wasn't like she had nothing else to do or anything. It was more like she was monitoring, no watching over me or something. My nervousness of being watched made it hard for me to think clearly, but I guess she was just doing her job. Either way, I knew I ought to fill out the test quickly. Oh, wow. Oh, we're actually, like... Oh, this is... What in the world? What are these questions? Nozomi. Wait a minute. Okay, I want to save here. I'm gonna save. This is really weird. Also, Click Me is even the name of the... And this is about... Where have I seen Nozomi before in this game? I swear I have seen that before. It's the config. Nozomi system. What the hell? And these are like choice. What in the world is this? I was like, I've seen Nozomi before. Interesting. I wonder how much this has to do with anything. And I don't know. Should I answer this as Takumi? I guess. So, yeah. Yeah. These are interesting. Like, these are masturbation ones. Daydream without closing your eyes. You definitely can. I don't know about that one. Hard time going to bathroom after watching a horror movie. You cannot handle haunted houses. When you start reading a book, sure, that feels like him. You believe that other planets inhabited by human-like creatures exist? Let's talk about that later. Let me go back to the top. You have seen objects that are supposedly stationary move for an instant. Sure. You've experienced a premonition. Absolutely. I'm very curious if I'm actually just going to check everything. You believe there is a god. You have a strong ability to sense. You have dreamed in color. You have been in a dream in which you knew you were dreaming. Experienced memory loss. Hard time making eye contact with people. I think we're supposed to check all of these. I think there's something funny about this. I'm just going to check all of them.
はい、お疲れ様でした。
That's interesting. I wonder what the Nozomi thing is terrifying in Nozomi system. There's like a weird meta there. It's almost like the weird meta stuff. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the weird meta stuff in DDLC Plus almost a little bit, where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Hazuki-san thanked me as I answered the final question, despite the fact that I hadn't said anything. I felt pretty embarrassed at being watched the whole time. My face was probably bright red. Because of that, I avoided looking at Hazuki-san when I handed her the test. There had been no time to write my symptoms on the back.
それでは、待合室でお待ちください。
That was very odd, because they were like a weird... That was a weird, like, group of questions. And, like, some of those were pretty
お
personal.
薬が出てますから。
Medication, huh?
薬
They were prescribing me something? Dr. Takashina never said anything about that. This feels so sus.
ええ、先生の指示で。弱い精神安定剤です。ぐっすり眠れるようになるし、副作用などもありませんよ。
Interesting. Oh, wow. Thoughtful as ever, Dr. Takashina. And yet, when I realized I would have to wait in that lobby again, my mood was immediately set spiraling. Interesting. I don't know how much I trust... Dude, now I'm immediately am suspicious. Value of death. Life is suffering caused by desire. To end the suffering, we must end desire. The contagious madness, the unchanging me. Power lines start 9 p.m. Sunday, November 24th. What the fuck is that? That seems very interesting choice for a show, I guess. Anyways, that was a really interesting, like a hospital scene, and I'm very suspicious, but I do feel like I'm starting to Takumi up this shit. But honestly, that's what this game's going for. By the time I'd gotten back to Shibuya, it was already evening. The hospital was technically in Shibuya Ward, but since Yoyogi was the closest station to it, commuting via train was the fastest. But the Yamanote line had been as crowded as ever. I think that's the green line. Yeah, it is the green line. Yeah, this is the line when I was in Tokyo. This is the train that I mostly used, was the green line. And despite only being 2 stops long, the trip back still made me incredibly tired. Riding the train any farther would have been a pain in the ass, so I decided to get off at Shibuya Station and make my way back to base from there. Even then, there were still tons of people outside the station. I despised crowds. They made my head spin. Not wanting to stay much longer, I tried to speed walk out of the scramble crossing. But even walking straight was nigh impossible. Stumbling even slightly caused people from both behind and in front to bump into me. What's more, a bunch of people handing out pocket tissue packs blocked the way, practically forcing everyone who passed by to take them. Fed up with everything, I ignored the first person handing them out, but I took some off the second because at least she was a cute girl. I was so sick and tired of these people handing out tissue packs and shit to push their products. Didn't they have anything better to do than stand right in the middle of the road? Well, whatever, it was free, so might as well take it. Inside the tissue pack I took was a red flyer, and there was a paragraph's worth of shit written on top of it with white ink. Talk about ostentatious, like holy shit. You couldn't exactly miss something with that color scheme. As I walked along, I gave it a quick skim. Type B blood is in short supply. Currently, Shibuya Ward is suffering from a severely short supply of Type B blood. This has only continued to worsen, and we've been struggling to secure the proper quantities of blood for those in need of transfusions. In the worst-case scenario, this may lead to deaths of many. Without your cooperation, lives may be lost. Please consider becoming a blood donor and visit the donation, whatever, noted, whatever, at Shibuya Station of the Ino Kashira line. It was a blood donation flyer. As I read it, I thought back to the form I'd filled out in the hospital. I didn't have any memory of filling out something like that 4 years ago. Maybe the way they examined patients had changed recently. No, there's something weird going on. Even then, though, something felt oddly familiar about the test. Interesting. Deja vu. I'd been getting hit by it all the time recently. See, the thing about deja vu is we're obviously, again, because of Steins Gate, we are familiar with some PSYAV concepts, and that one is heavily explored in Steins Gate, to say the least. Having my mind and body not function the way I wanted them to, the sense of dissonance was an incredibly uncomfortable feeling. So in order to ascertain the true cause behind the deja vu, I tried flipping back through the pages of my memories. Interesting. I thought back to when Mom had taken me to the hospital about once a week. I'd kept my mouth shut at all times and only expressed myself via nodding or shaking my head. At first, I'd been taken to a perfectly ordinary examination room, but since I showed no signs of improvement, I started going to a different room before long. The room had essentially been a counseling room, which meant it put the patient's relaxation first and foremost. In other words, there were sofas and plushies and whatnot located all throughout the room. Dr. Takashina had taken a very patient approach to treating me, all while refusing to blame my situation on anyone. He alone caught on to how I was merely choosing not to speak rather than having the inability to do so. Meanwhile, my mom would always talk to me in an unnaturally cheery voice. Every time I'd gone to the hospital, the doctor would always welcome me with a refreshing smile. The nurses also treated me with all the love and care they could, and I had a feeling that there had always been one more person in the room. Oh? So that's Mom. I didn't even process the fact that that's Mom with the gloved hands and the purse. You got the nurses, you got Dr. Takashina, but yeah, no, the fucking guy from the fucking Japanese government looking ass. Like, what the fuck is that about? That's really yeah, I noticed that. They showed this shot earlier, and I noticed that, and I don't think I actually brought him up, but like, I also didn't process that that was Mom on the left. That's a pretty good sign. We'll probably get to meet her at some point, which is fun. But very interesting. Yeah, he felt fairly out of place indeed. So even back then, they believed there was something special about Takumi, it seems like. As I've been doing my best not to speak, I never asked about him. I didn't know who the hell he was the entire time he was there. He didn't feel like a doctor, and he always stood all alone a far distance away from everyone else, all while gazing out the window. I had dubbed him Mr. Nozomi in my head, though that wasn't his actual name or anything. What is this Nozomi shit? Nozomi or Nozomi. Like, what in the fuck is this Nozomi shit? I'm gonna take a little note here. Oh yeah, this Nozomi thing is starting to cook now.
Nozomi.
And he wrote it all caps. The man in the suit always had a badge on his chest no matter the situation. Bro, Nozomi was on the form. Bottom right corner of the form. And on that badge was the word Nozomi. It looked like a logo to me, though, so it probably wasn't a name tag. It was on the form, bro! Oh, I knew why it was bothering me now. That test for before also had the Nozomi logo printed on it. I had a hunch that I'd seen it somewhere before, and now I finally remembered exactly where. It was like a huge weight had been lifted up my chest. That aside, what was Nozomi anyway? I was pretty sure it was the name of a business. Time to look
さん
that
ってい
up.
う美人女社長が設立したカウンターテロ組織とか、漫画みたいだ。
I hate that that might be close to the truth. That's the ridiculous part. It could be a counter-terrorist organization founded by a gorgeous female CEO named Miss Nozomi. Just like a manga. Yeah, I had to read that one out. That's funny. But it's probably not that far off, but it's probably even crazier than that. Back at Kurenai. And now back in our shipping container. Shoutouts to Ryder and Saber over there. When I arrived at my base, I'd gone straight to look up Nozomi online. However, there were so many results that I couldn't manage to pin down anything specific. Well, let's go with a more normal theory first. That Nozomi guy could have been from the company that made the test, and he was just at the hospital or to sell them or something. The hospital had then adopted the test recently, and they decided to have me fill one out today. Nah, I doubted that. I'd never heard of some rando attending a patient's examination like that. Yeah, this is worth being slightly suspicious about. So who the hell was that Mr. Nozomi guy? Memories kept pulling at my mind, but I was fed up with it at that point. Either way, the reason behind my deja vu was now clear. I decided that I'd ask Dr. Takashina about my memory issues next week, but until then I was going to stay cooped up in my room without bothering with school. There was no way in hell I'd go to a school where people were trying to hurt me. In all honesty, I really don't want to screw up the minimum attendance chart I'd so carefully constructed, but it wasn't worth getting myself killed over. I gave up on my Nozomi search and went to look for any interesting looking threads on @channel. Okay. 633 name, Morning Anons. New Gen News Bearer. New Gen number 1, Group Drive. New Gen number 2, Manchild. New Gen number 3, Crucifixion. New Gen number ? To be continued. The news board was almost completely filled with New Gen threads. Even the ESO board had threads like, let's try and replicate New Gen crimes in ESO. And to be honest, I was beyond sick and tired of the whole thing. God, people do love a true crime story, serial killers. People do love that shit. Girls especially, but in general, society is very fixated on those type of things. That's why there's so much like TV and movie and documentary stuff based on that. Stuff like that. Back to Neidhart. Diving back into ESO, I found Grimm. Okay, first Grimm sighting in a while. Oh, that actually looks good. Okay, we just had to press the button. Okay, that was kind of weird. The @channel news board is super fucking boring recently. They really won't shut the fuck up about New Gen. Well, it is the biggest thing of note recently. Whenever a new incident like this happens, people always freak the fuck out about it. Shitstorm incarnate, lol. I mean, we know what a shitstorm is, but sure, net slang. A stage of furious, chaotic excitement or activity on an @channel thread. They still haven't caught the culprit? I mean, you and I both know the police are incompetent, lol. There's tons of idiots all over the web painting the culprit as some moe hot chick, lol. That demon girl. The desolate eyes of the girl I'd seen at the Crucifixion murder scene flashed through my mind, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. As much as I didn't want to remember, that ghastly memory would come back any time I let my guard down. Wait, I'd seen the culprit's face. I knew who they were. Should I report it to the police? But I didn't want to get involved. I'm gonna let him cook. Okay, he just keeps going. Demon Girl, is there already an offshoot of the perp like that? That might be taking it a bit too far, to be honest. Anyway, these new gen cases are seriously interesting, dude. I've joined the Free Para new gen community. You're getting way too into this. Everyone but you and Sisson from our guild has joined. Oh god, was he serious? Now I wouldn't be able to hop on and chat with my guild anymore. New gen is some weird shit, man. Gives me the chills. I knew you were into gory stuff, Grim, but... Don't tell me you're the type that looks for artistic merit in murder cases. True, the crucifixion corpse could have easily been mistaken for modern art, so it'd be fair to say that it was artistic in some sense. Nah, the only thing you should be seeking here is how lewd it is. It's like the ultimate form of BDSM. What the fuck, Grim? That's crazy. This guy's hopeless. I'd better do something quick. You'll get it once you leave behind your virginhood, Neidhart Tan. You lowly bastard. Are you saying you're not a virgin? Ooh, weird faces. You damn traitor, Ors! Back on topic, though. The site pooling all the info together is filled to the brim, so you really ought to take a look. Oh, I really didn't want to. Look, I was scared to. I wanted to escape the reality in which I'd witnessed the scene of the crime. That's why I'd been internally avoiding all info related to New Gen ever since then. I wanted to fool myself into believing that the gruesome scene I'd seen had been just a delusion, but I was basically a god in ESO, not just someone strong, but someone who knew all. Not to mention I was the guild leader. It'd be beyond embarrassing if the organizer of the group couldn't keep up with the latest topics. I had to make sure that didn't happen. Oh, what a weird justification. All right, New Gen time. I clicked the link to the site Grim had sent me. I actually really like that, like, for this, like, Google ripoff. Search the entire web or search for Japanese pages only. That's kind of cool. The top of the site had the title. That might have been an old Google thing that I don't even remember because it was fucking almost 20 years ago. But the top of the site had the title All Things New Gen written in big letters right in the center of the page. This type of website was basically like a wiki. It was open to the public and anyone could enter info related to a particular topic. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice this was a one. Ors. An ideograph depicting a person on all fours, depressed. O is the head, R is the arms, and torso, Z is... I've never seen that before. Typically used to express despair, dejection, or frustration. There's no set way to pronounce it, and as such, people may pronounce it as orts, ors, or ors. Okay, ors, I guess. And then, yeah, an online system for the creation and compilation of hypertext documents on a web server, sure. In the case of this New Gen site, loads of people entered info concerning New Gen, and the site updated as they did. Sites like it tended to suffer from unreliable info being mixed in, as well as its fair share of vandalism from trolls, but they could still be pretty useful for getting a quick overview of an incident. Many links were pasted all over the page. I promptly clicked on the link that read Current Timeline. My heart raced. Just reading the site was making me nervous. My palms were slick with sweat. The first incident, dubbed the group dive, that's the suicide, yep, was the suicide of 5 high schoolers that had jumped to their death. The general news, god damn it, that's so stupid. Why is there something... Dude, what are the news site bookmarks on the right? Bro, I Heart Futanari, based, I guess. Homo Station, also based, I guess. Krusty Panties Paradise, that might be a little less based. I don't even know. I don't know what... I think I've heard of Buri Buri, but I don't know what that means. Kokoko Dayo. Not sure what that means, but that's funny. Hiki Niki Shut-In Diary. Okay, that's kind of cute. Tricto to Watori, huh? Interesting. Nah, I Heart Futanari and Homo Station is crazy. Funny, but crazy. The following post will be presented by Anonymous. 2 months ago, an earthquake with a seismic intensity of 3 occurred with Shibuya as its epicenter, and yet there were 8 fatalities. Interesting. It happened in the dead of night on September 7th, which was about a month ago at this point. The building they jumped off of was Cornelius Tower, which was located in Shibuya. They dove off the rooftop helipad. Of course, all 5 had died instantly. According to the autopsies, the 5 all had foreign pieces of flesh under their fingernails, along with various scratch marks on their hands. Weird. Based on that, it was surmised that the 5 had been holding hands as they jumped for one reason or another. Okay. Interesting. That actually makes me think of something from another visual novel series I've done on the channel. I might have even literally been 5 people. I wonder if that's a reference. There was no suicide note of any form on the rooftop. A person online, one of those people acting like Snake, had actually gone to Cornelius Towers themselves and reported that the door to the roof had a sign on it saying no entry to unauthorized personnel and that it was locked practically 24/7. I assume we're referencing Solid Snake. The name of the protagonist of a certain video game who is a professional in covert operations is often referenced on the internet when an ordinary person is conducting anonymous or secret investigations. For example, during an operation, one of these individuals might say, "This is Snake, I've infiltrated the building." Yes, definitely talking about Metal Gear. Naturally, the door had been locked at the time of the incident, and the key was not found among the belongings of the deceased. Essentially, the rooftop helipad had effectively been a locked room. Yeah, sure. That is an interesting... I've never seen that's a different type of locked room mystery than I've ever seen, but I guess in a sense that might as well be a locked room. And the method the 5 had used to enter was completely unknown. Interesting. There was a very high chance that someone other than the 5 had been present at the scene of the incident. The second incident, dubbed the man-child murder case, had occurred 12 days after the first incident, placing it on September 19th. Early in the morning, a university student on their way home from a karaoke session had discovered a collapsed man covered in blood by the Shibuya Station underpass. The victim was a university student residing in Shibuya Ward, a 21-year-old named Konoe Chizuo. Okay, no name. Name doesn't have any relevance to anyone we've met yet. He was already dead when he was discovered, but his abdomen had an unnatural, very large swelling. According to the autopsy, someone had performed an abdominal incision on the man, stuffed a newly born fetus inside the man's stomach, then stitched it back up. What the fuck? Well, that explains why it's called the man-child one. Good lord. Moreover, a DNA test confirmed that the fetus had no blood relation to the victim. The victim was a bachelor and had no relations with any women. It was only online speculation, but it was assumed that the 32-week-old fetus had been removed from its mother's body via C-section. What the fuck are we even talking about? However, the mother's identity, current whereabouts, and either whether or not she was alive was completely unknown. Interesting. It was possible the police had already discovered her whereabouts, but if they had, nothing had been publicly revealed. And then you get to... Yeah, I don't blame you for getting kind of sick. That was fucked. At least the first one wasn't like... The first one is fucked up, and like the actual like pictures would be gross, but the first one is just fucked up. It's not particularly gross. The man-child one, the group dive is just sad and kind of fucked up. But the man-child thing is disgusting. I averted my eyes from the monitor to keep myself from throwing up. Jesus Christ, talk about nauseating. The culprit was completely insane. I wonder if there's a possibility that each of these murders was done by a different character, and specifically like a different girl, because clearly there are a lot of girls in this series. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Culprit was completely insane, and maybe, just maybe, these ghastly murders... Yep. Oh. Had been carried out by that girl. Very possibly. She seems to be... Japan is over. What the fuck? I stared at Seroton in an attempt to bleach my eyes. And with that, I somehow managed to stabilize my mental state. I considered taking the meds the doctor had given me, but Seroton did the job nonetheless. Anyway, while that might have been necessary to maintain Neidhart's honor, reading all that gory stuff really fucking sucked. What the fuck was that? It looked like fucking, like, That was weird, too, because that almost felt like a, almost like, that gave off, like, hieroglyph vibes. But, Okay, interesting that we're getting this right where we saw the crucifixion, whatever.
タッキーがド M ってんなら別に止めないけど、辛そうなタッキーは見てられないさ。
Interesting.
もうやめよう。楽しいことだけしてようよ。いつもみたく私にハーハーしてもいいからさ。
Classic. Classic. Oh, how wonderful and caring you are, Seraton. Seraton was the only one who would stay by my side. I couldn't ask for a better waifu. Wow. I rested my chin on my hands above the table, watching Seraton smile as I took deep breaths. Ah, my soul had been healed. Love it. I might be able to get through a little more if I kept glancing at her as I read, and so I decided to put that into practice right away. Alright, let's keep going into New Gen then. Come to think of it, why had those two unrelated cases both been slapped with the New Gen label? Yeah, that's a good point. Like, why do people... Oh, yeah, literally one of those things. Yeah, corpse affixed to a concrete wall. Yeah, that was that. Witnesses claim they heard nails hammered around crime scene. Sure. Are the crimes all being committed by different people? That is actually a question. But yeah, like, why are we linking these three murders together other than how bizarre and unexplainable and creepy they are? Especially, like, the group dive. Like, if you wanted to maybe link man-child and crucifixion... But why group dive? Apparently, the group dive had initially been treated as a group suicide. But after the man-child incident occurred, people online reinvestigated it and discovered the unnatural circumstances surrounding the scene of the crime. Rumors then began to appear, saying that the five may have actually been killed and that the suicide label was merely a cover-up. According to the parents and good friends of the five victims, there was no way it could have been suicide. Then, the mass media had started making connections between the two incidents, starting with where they occurred, Shibuya, sure. Madness explodes in today's youth. The new generation madness. Sensationalist headlines like that had started popping up everywhere, to my understanding anyway. Interesting. Then came the third case, the murder case I'd witnessed, dubbed the crucifixion. The site didn't have as much info on this case, likely due to it having only occurred recently. The victim, 56-year-old Ota Hisashi, was a university professor who had been crucified with stakes to the concrete wall of a vacant house. That was all that had been publicly revealed. Many of the neighboring residents had claimed that for over an hour after the time the crime was thought to have occurred, around 8 p.m., they could hear the sound of nails being hammered into something. Even I'd heard the sound. I could hear it even now, a horrible, terrifying sound. On a related note, no connection between the third case and the group dive or the man-child had been discovered yet. But with it being the third abnormal incident to happen in quick succession in Shibuya, the crucifixion was naturally treated as another new-gen incident. But it's fully possible there's multiple killers here. 2 or possibly even 3 different people. The police and mass media believe that all the crimes had different culprits, but the predominant opinion online, or rather, what most of the net hoped was going on, was that the crimes either shared a single culprit or an organized group of culprits. Yeah, that would make it serial killings in one form or fashion, whether it was literally the same person carrying out the deeds or not. And I assume it's all going to come back to Suimei Academy in one way or another. There also were many occult-based theories whispered about online, such as that everything had begun with the earthquake from 2 months ago. 2 months ago, an earthquake with a seismic intensity of 3 occurred, with Shibuya as its epicenter. Although the scale was fairly minor, there were still 8 fatalities, which became a popular topic of discussion. Come to think of it, it was true that the new-gen cases had begun after that earthquake. Because of that, the new-gen occultists argued that the 8 deaths in the earthquake should be counted as the first new-gen incident, causing a dispute between them and the new-gen mainstreamers. Regardless, the entire situation was abnormal. After all, despite the fact that that 3 brutal cases had occurred in quick succession, no clues on any of their culprits had been found. And many online were waiting eagerly for a 4th case. That's crazy. I mean, that does sound like the internet, but that's also crazy. The to be continued is wild. If I wasn't directly connected to it all, I probably would have joined in on the chaos myself, posted in a few threads, made a few theories. I could have been waiting excitedly for the 4th incident at this very moment. Maybe. Damn it, all these assholes were just having the time of their lives, weren't they? I love how he even acknowledges that he might have done that if he wasn't involved. A week had passed since the cruise of fiction, but neither the demon girl nor the police had made any moves. If they knew I'd been at the scene of the crime, they would definitely come and question me about it, but there hadn't been any signs of that actually happening. Yeah, you was the only person that theoretically knows about that. Thank God. It looks like I wasn't going to get dragged into this after all. Not by the police. Yeah. That claim you had thrust at me flashed into my mind. Yeah, because you responded to the picture before actually sending the picture, too. Even though I'd finally started to relax, that feeling of despair came flying right back in an instant. The image sent by Shogun, the data was still on my PC. Yua's claims were no more than delusions she dreamt up. Her deductions were a total stretch, not to mention logically bankrupt. While I might have ended up not asking about it in the hospital today, the idea of me doing things without remembering them was completely absurd, utterly impossible. I mean, nothing like that had ever happened to me before, so the gory image was obviously faked. Okay, here we go, Sarah again. Hey, Sarah. Interesting. Okay. But it's so disgusting. I really don't want to look at it any more than I already have. Wow. I love that too, with being like, if you destroy that bimbo's argument, I'm the only woman worthy of you, Taki. So it would seem. Of course, she was exactly right. Yua had talked to me as if I were the culprit behind the crucifixion. I feel like she knows you're not the culprit. I feel like Yua knows more than she was letting on, and I feel like she's confident you're not the culprit because of the way she was reacting to you, but she doesn't know what your connection is. Yeah, Yua had talked to me as if I were the culprit behind the crucifixion, but that wasn't true at all. I mean, I'd see the culprit's face, as if I'd let Yua put the blame on me after that. So with a gulp, I double-clicked on the folder where the images were cached. Alright, here we go. Oh shit. It's another... This is like the time where, what was it, FES was singing? Like, we just switched perspectives. Oh, baby. It was the first time in 3 days that Bon Yasuji had set foot in the Shibuya police station conference room. The investigation meeting for the Maru Yamacho staking homicide case had already begun, and Bon was greeted with the universal gazes of displeasure for his tardiness. Bon forced a polite smile before bending down to sit. He supposed that it was not quite the right time to reveal that he had been cooped up in the bathroom with diarrhea. The Maru Yamacho staking homicide case had been assigned to the Shibuya police station on the morning after the incident. As they were lacking in manpower due to the Cornelius Tower mass suicide case and the Shibuya Station undergrad and fetus homicide case, even the third-rate assistant inspector Bon, whom the Metropolitan Police Department's investigation division were practically begging to retire, had been called in by the main office. Moreover, as all the incidents had occurred within the Shibuya police station's jurisdiction, it was an unusual situation in which a single jurisdictional station was utilizing 3 special investigation teams. Because of this, operations were made quite difficult, with the 3 investigation teams having access to only one large conference room that they had to alternate between. Damn. The mass media was hailing it all as one large case known as New Gen, and there were rumors that the police would combine the 3 investigation teams in order to make a New Gen investigation division, thus solving the issue of manpower. All the detectives found this prospect completely asinine, regarding it as nothing more than an absolute joke.
警部補、君の報告を。
Bond's superior, Inspector Matsunaga, who was in charge of the investigation team, called out to Bond with a piercing gaze. But Bond did not notice this. He simply continued to cool himself down with a handheld fan as he took a moment to recuperate.
警部補、バン警部補、聞いているのか？
呼ばれてるっすよ。バンさんの報告待ちなんすから。
Oh shit.
ちょっと。
Oh, this is the guy! This is the guy! This guy that's talking right now is the guy that we saw at the... Oh, this is the guy that we saw at Suimei Academy earlier in the episode, like at the beginning of the episode, I believe. Or after we were... I think it was after we were leaving school, actually, with Yua. But before, still in Chapter 1. This was the guy... So this was a detective, then, that was at the school investigating shit. Okay, so they're at least... There's still something about a Suimei Academy that they're onto, potentially. The whispers of Bond's partner, a rookie named Suwa, finally got him to realize he was being called.
すんません。報告は諏訪から。
Oh, dude, Bond, a Bond giving me that fucking Dick Gumshoe vibe a little bit with that design. I love it.
自分っすか？
俺がいなくても報告しとけって言っといたろうが。
Wow.
早くしろ。
Suwa sighed as his superior jabbed him in the elbow, then stood up straight and tall.
犯行現場近くの監視カメラの解析がようやく出たっす。出ました。犯行時間に不審な人物が映ってました。
I wonder if this is gonna be pink hair or if it's gonna be Takumi. Murmurs echoed throughout the conference room. The relaxed atmosphere from before had been turned on its head. The other detectives began to take frantic notes in order to not miss a single word of Suwa's report. Considering the situation, it was no surprise they were so frantic about it. After all, 3 horrific cases had occurred within their jurisdiction in the span of a single month, only one of which was not ruled as a homicide as of yet. Their strong determination to find the culprit, even in the face of their reputations, was only natural.
プロジェクターに映像を出します。
Okay. Who's gonna be... This is gonna be us. As per the instructions Bond had given him in advance, Suwa had the projector display the footage on the projector screen. The projector shone an image of the confined, filthy back alley of Maruyamacho. It was night, and there were very few streetlights present, so virtually nothing was visible.
犯行現場から約50メートル離れたところにあるコインパーキングの監視カメラです。
Parking lot was only big enough to fit 2 vehicles. It was a tiny plot of land interposed between 2 buildings, and it was constructed without any real care as well. The scene of the crime was not visible in the footage. Not even the path leading to it could be seen. All it displayed was the road that was one farther away from the crime scene. The video had no sound. The time the video had been recorded was graciously displayed on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, 9:34 p.m. Well, not yet.
犯行現場近隣の住民の証言により、21時過ぎから21時半頃まで釘を打ちつける音がしていたというのはご承知の通りだと思いますが、この映像は21時34分、つまりまさに犯行時間直後ということになります。不審人物が映っているのは21時34分53秒からおよそ6秒間です。駐車場の前の道を奥から手前へと走り抜けていきます。
There he is. Immediately following Suwa's explanation, a silhouette appeared on the footage. They seemed to be in a great hurry and ran from the back of the screen to the front. As the resolution was quite poor, not even their gender could be ascertained at a glance, but Bond had already gotten the crime laboratory to analyze that very point.
科捜研で解析した結果、映っている人物は男。年齢は10代後半から20代とのことっす。です。
Ah, okay, it's just his accent.
人
Okay.
相の判別までは無理でした。服装がかなり特徴的ですが、これは小島にある私立水明学園の男子制服と分かりました。それと右手に注目してもらいたいんですが、
The image enlarged on the right hand of the suspicious individual. It appeared to be grasping something.
スローで再生するとわかるが、走りながら腕を振っている際、この握りしめている何かが駐車場の照明に反射して光を放ってるんだな、これが。
Nice. And that's obviously referring to the stake that he took. Now at the good part, Bond took over Suwa's explanation.
形状からして犯行に使われた十字架型の杭である可能性がある。
The detectives continued to murmur noisily. The staking homicide culprit may be a high schooler. The proposition was fairly shocking to them. After all, it meant that the new generation madness moniker that the mass media had been pushing could actually become a reality.
最も犯人に近い人物がこの少年だということか。
そういうことになりますね。
Bond stroked the stubble on his jaw. It was a habit of his whenever he felt one step closer to cornering a culprit. He would always reach for that satisfying scraping sensation.
以上です。
With a great exhale, Suwa sat down.
ひどいっすよ先輩。美味しいところ持ってって。
Yeah, I'm gonna make you do it, and then I'm gonna take the best part. Ignoring Suwa's grumbling, Bond once again burned the image of the high school boy into his mind.
ようやく尻尾を出したんだ。そいつを掴んで離さねえようにしないとな。
Oh, baby. I already really like this detective duo that's researching the Cruz fiction case. Interesting little interlude there. Very interesting stuff. And back to Takumi. So, though, they do have a read on you, Takumi. Just gonna go find it in your cache, huh? Sure enough, the image Shogun had sent was in my cache folder. 168491.jpg was its name. Obviously, a part of me was still hesitant to even look at it. I mean, it was a pretty fucking nasty image, grotesque as all hell, too. I was sure just looking at it would throw me right back to the scene of the Cruz fiction, where the violent scene had taken place right in front of me. But even then, I needed to expose Yua's flawed logic, and therefore guarantee my own safety and innocence. Thankfully, since Seraton was there for me, I could handle a little bit of gore. Mustering all the courage I had, I double-clicked the file. Yep, there it is. God, it was so gory. But compared to the Cruz fiction scene I'd seen in person, it wasn't quite as bad. Telling myself that the image had to be fake, I was just barely able to stomach it. When I'd first received the image, I'd closed it immediately after looking at it once. I hadn't inspected it thoroughly. This time, holding back the urge to vomit, I decided to examine the image in excruciating detail. I didn't know much about how to tell whether a picture was fake or not, but taking a look at the shadows, seeing if there was anything off about the surrounding area, and other stuff like that should probably be enough. The only possibility I had in mind was that the photo had been taken in advance, and the crucifixion corpse had then been put on top of it using CGI. And then the day after Shogun had sent the picture to me, they executed the crime exactly as they had edited in the image. That would be crazy. Thanks to the poor resolution, how dark the image was, I could only really see the stakes, leaving the identity of the victim unclear. Light was only hitting the area surrounding the corpse, yet something about the image was just begging for me to look at the crucifixion itself. I felt like that was the intent of the person who made it. I mean, come on, focusing that much light around the corpse was kind of overkill, don't you think? Well, it wasn't like I'd been paying close attention to the actual crime scene, so I couldn't really jump to conclusions. In the picture, the demon girl wasn't standing in front of the crucified corpse. But when I opened my eyes wide and looked even closer, I noticed a silhouette in a dark spot on the left side of the image. I'd almost completely missed it. Is that Is that us running away? Like, is that who? What? Yeah, in the bottom left corner, there is definitely something there. Due to the low res of the image, the shadow the figure stood in blended perfectly into the surrounding scenery. You could easily miss it if you weren't paying close attention. Obviously, the image was fake, but what if the person who'd taken the photo had accidentally left themselves in it? If they had, it was possible that they'd forgotten to edit themselves out when they'd tampered with the image. It looked like they were wearing a Suimei uniform. In that case, it had to be the demon girl. She had been wearing one at the time of the crime, after all. But when I took a closer look, I noticed the figure's hair was actually pretty short. The demon girl had long hair like Yua. Alright then, time for some computer magic. I needed the details here. I opened up some image processing software and dragged the image in. Then, with a big gulp, I selected the levels option in the adjustments menu and brightened the once darkened corners of the image. Yeah, that's you, bro.
Huh?
Yeah, that's you running away. What the hell?
Nandaこれ
Yep. Pictured on the screen was unmistakably...
僕だ
Yep. How was it me? It didn't make any sense. I'd never even been there before September 29th. It was fake. It had to be fake. I couldn't find any bit of proof that it was, but it absolutely had to be. Also, it's you running away, but no sign of your demon girl. So I'm starting to think more and more that this is some grand conspiracy trying to, like, set this guy up. But delude him into thinking that he actually did it or something. But I think it's going to be more complicated than that. But this is really interesting. Nothing made sense otherwise. I mean, Shogun had sent the image on the 28th, and the crucifixion murder case had occurred on the 29th. If the image was of what happened on the 29th, then that would mean it was a picture taken from the future.
あなたには予知能力がありますか?
There is the precognitive powers, and also how that, like... It's also weird because, again, I do have experience with Sayav from, obviously... Even though I've never played Steins Gate or Steins Gate Zero, I've seen the anime's adaptation. So, like, I do have some experience with this universe, and it's, like, it's interesting to see how the thematic similarities between Chaos Head and Steins Gate and, like, the way the world works. And knowing how, at least what we know, at least knowing the Steins Gate portion of how the world works, it's really interesting to look at this game through that lens.
うるさいそんなはずはないんだ
That's crazy. I kicked the plastic bottle at my feet and closed the paint program. I checked the file's properties to see when it was made, and then I lost all words. The timestamp was the 28th, but that was the least of my worries now. In the comment section of the properties menu was a single inconspicuous sentence. A sentence my eyes couldn't look away from. Whose eyes are those eyes? Yep! Ho! 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 Yeah, because it's also literally, like, in the picture, like, whose eyes are those eyes? Like, who's taking this presumed picture, and, like, whose eyes are those eyes, man? It just keeps coming up. Yeah, time for the actual vomit. I slammed my hands to the keyboard before shoving it to the edge of my desk. I clutched my head.
セーラ助けて
Anything, Sarah? I could barely hold back my tears. What the hell had I done to deserve a whole week of nothing but more and more insane bullshit? Why was I the only one that had to deal with this shit? Hang on a second. If they had somehow managed to get a photo of me and then they'd edit it into the image of the crime scene, that would either mean Shogun had taken a picture of me without my consent, or that he had somehow obtained my photo from another source. Considering how he'd suddenly entered the chat room and started talking to me right after Grimm had left, he had likely been aiming for me and me alone from the very start. Shogun might very well have discovered my real identity. Well, again, it's also possible Shogun is literally just you, bro. If that was true, then Shogun, the demon girl, anyone could raid my base at any moment, and then I'd be abducted. I felt a chill on the nape of my neck. It was the gaze again. There was something there, watching me. Don't look at me. Did you really think I'd turn around? I knew the rules of the game better than anyone. The it'll take more than that to make me turn around game. Fear sent goosebumps all over my body, and I felt a strong urge to check that the door was locked. But instead of doing that, I just continued to stare at my monitor as I was way too stubborn to let myself lose. Oh man, this is tense. This is like got the weird pseudo-horror vibes, and it's really cool. Unable to calm down, I opened up my default word processor and wrote down everything on my mind. Okay, Demon Girl equals cold-blooded murderer, has precognitive powers. Shogun equals Demon Girl's underling. Yua equals Shogun's underling. I mean, you never know. It's possible. This is possible. Interesting. I mean, it's possible, I guess. That still would not rule out that you're Shogun. These could honestly, this whole process could be right, and you could still be Shogun. That's all possible. As I stared fearfully at the word demon, I began to wonder if the girl at the crime scene was actually a real demon. I mean, come on, she couldn't be human by any means. If she was a demon, she might actually be able to see the future, and if she could see the future, projecting a scene from the future onto a picture via psychic photography would be child's play. What are we even talking about? It would line up perfectly with how she'd somehow managed to carry out the gruesome crucifixion all on her own. You're assuming she pulled it off all on her own. She'd then gotten her underling Shogun to send the image to me, a person who she knew would end up accidentally witnessing the crime scene. I didn't know why she'd done that. Maybe it was a threat. This'll be you next if you tell anyone what you saw. Interesting. Or maybe it was a death sentence. You're next. Oh shit. Okay, Goldberg. And if that really was what it meant, then it's definitely concerning all around. Oh, we're transitioning to another character. Bro, that. Oh shit. Oh shit. Kusunoki Yua, let's go. I was gonna say that's this is quite the room, but also that poster looks crazy. And Gavla Lerva, huh? That's a crazy looking poster. Kusunoki Yua faced the PC in her room. Her profile gravely serious, she swiftly read through the information displayed on the monitor. Before long, Yua let out a small sigh and released her hand from the mouse, glancing at a piece of paper sitting within reach of her. Yeah, that whole, like, formula thing just killed the world's possibilities, yeah. It was the very same paper. I feel like we haven't talked enough about the formula. Oops. Give me a sec. Backlog. Thank you. It was the very same paper she had put before Nishijo Takumi the day before. The printout of the chat log between Neidhart and Shogun. Nishijo-kun. Yua muttered a single name. The view of Takumi sitting alone on that Shoto Park bench appeared in her mind before she quickly shook her head to drown it out. Suddenly, she looked behind herself in surprise. Oh my god! She does it too. She could feel... Yep. Whose eyes are those eyes? Her gaze stopped upon a large stuffed Garo froggy enshrined on her bed. Wondering if it had just been her imagination, she tilted her head in puzzlement. Then she slowly rose to her feet, walked over to her bed, and fell onto it head first. Hello! The sheets smelled of the sun. That's a cool shot. It seemed that her mother had kindly dried the futon earlier today. Yua buried her face in that relieving scent, her gaze wandering about vacantly. Her room was very neat and orderly, placing her meticulous personality on full display, sure. This especially applied to her large bookshelf, which was rather incongruous for a room sized at around 13 square meters. It was packed tightly with countless books, leaving hardly any gaps. However, charmingly, the lower half consisted of nothing but complex academic books, computing-related books, and other similar material, contrasting greatly with the upper half, which was filled with shoujo manga and anime DVDs. Okay. I mean, that tracks with her character from what we've seen, really both parts of that. With another sigh, Yua turned her body to face up and stared at the ceiling.
DID.
Dissociative identity disorder. Well, there it is. I've been talking about it. I haven't actually used the term DID. That's crazy, though. A condition in which a single person has more than one personality. A personality is defined as a continuous pattern of engaging with one's environment while being aware of the environment and their ego. Interesting. I mean, that does make sense, but I've never actually heard it described as such. In other words, a human being's ego presents itself by recognizing the continuous passage of time, confirming that their actions and subsequently received information are consistent, and from there is themself. Personality change in DID is sudden and can be triggered by psychological stress, social stress, as well as various other environmental factors. The disorder is characterized by many cases in which the different personalities do not retain the same memory. The age of onset is in early childhood, but it may not always be clinically apparent. It is easier for the disorder to become chronic should the patient have experienced some form of childhood abuse and psychological trauma. It was first referred to as multiple personality disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders 3rd edition, published in 1980 by the American Psychiatric Association, and while the name may be commonplace, it has not been used since the 4th edition from 1994. Okay, so it's, dissociative identity disorder. So she's come to that possibility. Yep. Oh, there you go. From Wiki... What the fuck? Why is it called that? From Wiki... Why is the P word there? The Encyclopedia of Useless Knowledge. That's crazy. We at Meta Wiki are currently discussing whether or not to implement a Japanese version of the Wiki Party site. If you're interested in contributing, feel free to join us. And yeah, there it goes. There, it's literally the explanation that we just read. She muttered the name of the mental illness she had just been researching. An explanation related to it was still displayed on her monitor.
辛いんですね。
Yeah. That does seem to be what he's dealing with. Yua hugged the stuffed Garo froggy by her pillow tightly as she thought about Takumi.
でも、私、
However, her expression soon vanished, replaced only by the gritting of her teeth. Are we going to leave it there? Yep, we are going back to the boy again. Are you going to turn around? Guess not. It hurt to breathe. All I was doing was looking things up on my PC, and it hurt to breathe. I could feel my heart pounding harder than it ever had before. And of course, the feeling that something was watching me would not go away. I was still just barely keeping myself from turning around, but I knew I couldn't do it for much longer. I cried out angrily at whatever it was. Surely it wasn't the demon girl, right? Oh god, what if it was? She could be using second sight or clairvoyance or some other demonic power to spy on me. Obviously, clairvoyance, I'm sure you all know what that means, but we'll read it anyways. A psychic ability that allows a person to see far beyond normal human perception. With this power, what is normally impossible to see with the naked eye due to distance, angle, obstructions, etc. can be perceived. The power can manifest in many ways, such as simply enhancing one's natural vision or seeing distant things in the form of still images. The chills on the back of my neck were gradually growing stronger to the point where they were getting slightly painful, like jolts of electricity coursing through my body. I was covered from head to toe in sweat. The front of my t-shirt was completely soaked. Unable to take it anymore, I whipped around in my chair as forcefully as I could, and yet all I saw was my room, in the same condition as always. I didn't see a single thing that shouldn't have been there. I know. That's interesting that Yua seems to also experience that, though. That feeling of being watched. Can't wait to explore more of this and, like, what this is all about. And, like, this game is, like, very interesting. And I feel like it's definitely, like, they're cooking. It's definitely cooking, and we're getting even more interesting in this episode. With a yell that was closer to a shriek than anything, I burst up from my chair and went to make sure the door was locked, and much to my relief it was. I wiped away the sweat on my forehead with my sleeve. Returning to my PC, I focused on the monitor once more. It was still displaying what I had been researching earlier, precognition. And we got this exact description earlier. Why in the world is that what they call it? Why did they use that fucking word? When I was a kid, I truly believed that precognition existed, that psychics existed, and if I was being completely honest, I still did to a degree. That was why my first thought had been that the image from Shogun and the demon girl was a precognitive photograph, a thought which only drove me to look into it all the more. What if maybe, just maybe, there were tons of psychics all over the world and I just didn't know? Back when I was a kid, when that bus accident happened, I'd managed something that had been pretty close to precognition. For that reason, I couldn't completely rule out its existence. But no matter how much I searched, all I could find was extremely dubious articles about the occult, voodoo shit, or whatever else. There was absolutely nothing that proved scientifically whether it existed or not. Yeah. Yeah, bro is freaking the fuck out. Even by Takumi's standards, he's freaking out. Growing increasingly frustrated, I violently tapped away at the keyboard. I couldn't deal with how anxious not having a concrete answer made me. Delude. Search. Was the world really telling me to give up, to wait here, trembling in fear of demons that might or might not come? I couldn't stay sane like that. Of course I would have vastly, vastly preferred to learn that precognition didn't exist, but regardless of what the truth was, I needed to know it badly. Pretty much out of options, I decided to take a look at Channel's occult board. The place was typically home to nothing but total BS noise, lies, and misinformation mainly, but it actually had some pretty mind-blowing and even useful information scattered on it sometimes. Fighting back how frantic I was, I opened up Channel. Then I clicked on the occult board and gave precognition a search. And when I did... okay, we're gonna read this in a second. But first, dude. A degradation of the word dude originates from the similar slang word dude, but with the O's replaced with zeros. Sure, okay. I didn't even get to that yet. Precognition and prophecies. Phantasm General New Gen 43. Shittily predicting the future of Japan. Precognition Thread 6. Number of dudes who want FES Ton, Queen of Precognition, to kick their shit in. The Messiah. FES Precognition discussion. Phantasm. That was one of the things she was singing about. Precognition. Fuck Phantasm. Thread number 11. More like superstition. What do you guys think of Phantasm's prophetic songs? Clear precognition, in my opinion. Why Phantasm are literal murderers pretending to have precognition part 5. If you've had precognitive dreams, get your ass in this thread. Trolls, get the fuck out. Logging off to hear FES's prophecies / precognition IRL part 3. Okay, so obviously FES, the girl is FES, and then Phantasm's the name of the band, I guess. Interesting. So now, FES does precog songs. Okay. I was wondering when FES would come back up, because we have had a few character introductions that haven't come back up. There's still a lot of potatoes that we haven't even really properly met yet. My search pulled up a surprising number of threads, about 30 of them. Was precognition a hot topic on @channel at the moment? With a gulp, I checked the thread titles one by one.
Phantasm. FES.
Yep. Most of the threads contain those two key words. In addition, New Gen discussion had also wormed its way in, with lots of unsettling terms like prophetic lyrics and murderer being used. So yeah, they're talking about FES being prophetic, or the fact that this like band or idol group or whatever are actually just the New Gen killers, I guess. Interesting. Yeah, time to look up one or the other, or both. Having never heard of Phantasm before, I went to Google them. Apparently, they were a Shibuya-based 4-piece gothic punk band that had been doing live concerts recently. They were so popular, in fact, that they were completely dominating the indie music scene with a female vocalist known only as FES. Anyway, to check whether it was related to precognition or not, I clicked on the thread at the top titled Precognition and Prophecies, Phantasm General, New Gen 43, and gave the contents a brief skim. Okay, well, I didn't get to read that first part, but I'm sure it doesn't matter. Black Mass, huh? Also known as a witch's Sabbath, a ritual performed by satanic cults. Although it is referred to as a Sabbath, it is the exact opposite of the masses held by the Catholic Church. When a Black Mass begins, the devil appears in the form of a giant goat. It is said that the witches then kiss the goat's buttocks, drink the blood of infants instead of wine, read aloud grimoires, and perform various impure grimoires, and perform various impure acts. Fucking grimoires, this is fucking Wizard of Oz shit. Grimoires. One theory states that the whole concept is nothing but an illusion crafted and perpetuated by sexually repressed priests and theologians in order to suppress heretics. Interesting. Anonymous Prophet. Calm your tits, everyone. But yeah, let's all go to the concert Sunday. Those who do will enjoy FES Sama's Black Mass without letting any of it go to waste. Miss out, and you'll be getting the crucifixion treatment. Laugh my fucking ass off. I read the lyrics, but it still feels like a stretch. The phrasing is vague as shit. There's no way any are actual prophecies. If I'm wrong, though, have mercy on me, crucifixion killer, lol. Calling it precognition or a prophecy or whatever the fuck is taking it way too far, Lamau. This ain't Nostradamus, so how about we just sit back and enjoy the music for what it is? FES's stuff ain't bad lyrically, but I can feel the new gen connection, to be honest. Everyone always talks about FES. Rip the composer Rio. Poor guy's getting no credit. FES Ton. FES Ton's lyrics force me to find the meaning of life. It's a trap. FES tards are total shitters, Lamau. Interesting. I want to... Yeah, what was it? Sheep. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, you know. Sheeple. The good old sheeple here. This is, a derogatory term used to refer to those who blindly follow their leader or shepherd without question, sure. Keep going down. Well, to be honest, I want to be insulted by FES Sama and that chill voice of her while she grinds her boots into my ass over and over until it feels like my eyes are going to fall out their sockets. It would feel so intoxicating to stop on the edge right at the last moment, and so erotic as I wonder if she'll spit on my face or not. No matter what you think, I want FES to just take a knife and cut open my throat, ending my life. I want to breathe my last breath as she says to me, "You're an eyesore." That's crazy. That's wild. FES Tan is my waifu. Take that to the BDSM thread. Also, FES is my waifu, actually. Stop bumping this shit. This is what you guys mean by new gen prophecy stuff? Oh, there it is! Oh, there it is! Oh, servant, revealed by the light of the moonlit night, connect the phantasmal paths which lead to this place. Little do they know, their screams will soon turn to silence, and repose shall fall upon us as we link hand in hand within the wind. By the way, I say fuck Phantasm. Like Lamau, their fans are terrifying. You'd think they were all brainwashed. So yeah, again, that whole thing just sounds like some Fate shit, but I mean, I guess Fate maybe in a different sense. The use of violent methods to forcibly reconstruct someone's thoughts or principles. Brainwashing is performed by applying intense external pressure via physical methods, such as confinement, threats, physical violence, use of drugs, etc., or psychological methods, such as instilling guilt, verbal abuse, etc., is a method of mental reconstruction that is even stronger than mind control. Obviously, there is a lot of lore there. Also, this is another topic that comes up in Syav that, you know, obviously, Steins Gate experience. Lol, now you're gonna get it. Don't leak the lyrics, dumbass. What a brainless troll. Those lyrics. Depending on how you interpreted them, they could be seen as referring to the group dive. I suppose. They're very poetic. They're very cool lyrics. And yet those lyrics had been released 2 months ago, which meant they hadn't been written after the group dive. 2 months ago is when the earthquake happened, though, interestingly enough, which we've been mentioning.
これが予知ってこと？
Could it just be a coincidence, or could Phantasm be yet another one of the Demon Girl's underlings? I read the thread in more detail, only to find out that each of the 3 New Gen incidents had all been prophesized by Phantasm's lyrics. However, the lyrics for the songs that supposedly prophesized the man-child and crucifixion incidents had not been posted on @channel. Apparently, uploading them online was viewed as a taboo of sorts. The philosophy seemed to be, if you really want to know, just go to the concerts and buy an album yourself. Regardless, there were a great number of people online trying to predict the next New Gen case based on the songs Phantasm had performed this far. And apparently, ever since New Gen kicked off, Phantasm's albums have been completely selling out. They had been so successful, in fact, that even the mainstream media had picked up on it. Gothic band boasting cult following rises among the youth of Shibuya. News stories like that were popping up all over the place. Interesting. The one writing the lyrics was the head singer, FES. Nobody knew her real name. What if FES was actually the Demon Girl? Well, this is a meta thing, but we know that it's not, appearance-wise anyways. If she was, it would explain how she'd managed to prophesize the incidents literal months before they'd occurred. The Demon Girl was the culprit, after all. Theoretically. I tried doing an image search, but I couldn't find any good photos of her face. All the pictures were taken by phones during her concerts, and they were so blurry that I couldn't even begin to make out her face. I wiped my sweat-drenched forehead with the hem of my shirt. I was frustrated. I was scared. I couldn't believe anything. I didn't even want to see anything. Several emotions swirled within me, suffocating me. My breathing hadn't even come close to stabilizing this entire time. But even so, I knew one thing for certain. I needed to see FES's face. With trembling fingers, I typed in Phantasm's name and clicked on their official website. Well, that's metal as fuck. I mean, they are a gothic band, I suppose. The site was mostly black, decorated only by text of a uniform, deep crimson color. It was unrelenting in its simplicity, and yet it felt so incredibly eerie and strange. That's really cool, actually. Discography and information, huh? So these are all their different songs. There was barely anything on the site at all, just basic information on their concerts and discography. There wasn't even a single image. There were no profiles in the band members, nor anything on their song lyrics.
やっぱり犯人だけあってネットに顔写真が流出しないようにしてるのか。
Talk about thorough. I took a look at their performance schedule and saw that they typically performed about every other week. Their next concert was, let me guess, tomorrow?
あさって。
Oh, day after tomorrow, close enough. If I went to it, I'd be able to check whether FES was the Demon Girl or not. But even if I did find out they were one and the same, what would I even do? Report FES to the police? Cry and beg for her to leave me alone? Bring a crucifix and attempt a mock exorcism? That'd be hilarious. Yeah, none of those were going to happen. I was up against a demon. There was no way in hell an otaku freak like me could come out on top. Problem is, if I didn't, I'd die. She'd transform my corpse into her newest art piece, and I'd be posted on the All Things No Gen site as yet another case.
そんなのやだ!
But if I didn't do something, I'd never find out what that picture of me that Shogun had sent really meant. And on the off chance that FES wasn't connected to the Demon Girl, maybe I could ask her to help me fight against whoever the Demon Girl actually was.
だけどやっぱり無理だ。
Yeah, you never know.
ライブなんて行けるわけがない。
I was already really excited for FES, but to find out that, like, her band, Phantasm, is, like, gothic themed, oh, I'm even more hyped for FES now. I'd never been to one in my life. That sort of thing was infinitely beyond my comfort zone. Not to mention concert halls were cramped and dark and noisy and crowded. Just imagining a place like that made me want to hurl. I was at my wit's end. I had no idea what to do. The chills on the back of my neck still hadn't gone away, and the painful prickling sensation suddenly turned into the burning one. I looked behind me yet again, but like always, nobody was there.
もうやめてよ。
Wonder if that's Shogun watching. I closed my eyes tightly, focusing on nothing other than waiting for the gaze to disappear. I didn't want to go through this torment for the rest of my life. For all I knew, the gaze would straight up kill me someday.
考えろ、匠。僕にできることを考えろ。
Yeah? Is this going to be the night of the concert? Oh yeah, it definitely is the night of the concert. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. I've been out of water for a while, didn't want to see there. I mean, I'm curious to see. We'll see if maybe I can get through chapter 2 next time. Now that I kind of have an idea of how long these potentially go. But yeah, no, that was really fun. I really enjoyed that episode. Should be about a 3-hour part, I think, give or take. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was, like I said, really good. I thought the stuff with Yua in the early part of the episode was fantastic. We got an interesting, we've gotten like a few of these interludes. We got a Yua interlude later in the episode of her looking up DID and basically coming to the realization that Takumi has DID, presumably, seemingly. We also dived into the whole deal about how, what's it called? Oh my god, I can't even speak. Oh my god, what is wrong with me? How, Bon and, Sua, I believe. I don't have their names written down yet, but I will get to that. I will get to that after this, before we start, episode 4. But, their whole situation and the fact that, like, we do have a lead on Takumi as far as the Cruz fiction case in particular. So I do like that that's kind of something that's they're cooking with right here. I am excited about that. I'm really excited in general just to kind of watch more of this unfold and like see where this goes, because yeah, this is a really compelling story. You know, as I expect with most visual novels, of course, this game has started off slow. That goes without saying. I kind of go into most visual novels expecting a slow start, but things are definitely cooking. There's a lot of intrigue and mystery, which also pretty much has been just about all the visual novels, at least that I've, you know, played so far on the channel. But, you know, ChäoS Head Noah is no exception, which makes sense because, again, from the weird context of having seen the Steins Gate anime adaptations, you know, in that vein, there is a lot of interesting intrigue and mystery going on here in ChäoS Head Noah, and yeah, it's been really compelling. Like, I really love where this game is going right now, and I'm super excited to just keep pushing forward and just, like I said, see where this goes, because this is an awesome experience so far. Like, I am loving ChäoS Head Noah. It's super compelling, it's super interesting. Takumi's character and just how, like, broken he is as a person, like, from the starting point of ChäoS Head is super interesting. And we're starting to see kind of, as he starts to descend further, you can kind of see how, like, you know, the illusion of this just awful person is kind of getting shattered, because he just does that to protect himself from the fact that he feels like anyone can hurt him. And now we're kind of diving deeper into who Takumi is, and he's just this scared guy. Like, he's just scared to the core, and like that's at the, you know, at the root of who he is. And then yeah, we met Dr. Takashina and Hazuki. Dr. Takashina feels like a relatively potentially important character, whatever all that doctor related stuff is. The Nozomi stuff, and like, what the hell is that all about? That gets into like the more meta, like, weird stuff going on in this game. I'm super interested to see that and what that's about. And yeah, and then we have a few characters who we still haven't, like, really had proper introductions to. One of them is FES, and we've seen, and now we have an idea that those lyrics that FES sung were potentially a prediction for the group dive, and that she potentially has precognitive powers, but whatever, we're gonna go see a concert of Phantasm, and that's how we're gonna start the next episode of ChäoS Head Noah, so that's gonna be exciting. I'm definitely looking forward to that. That should be a lot of fun. And yeah, like I said, I can't wait to see what that ends up looking like. But more than anything, I'm just so excited to be back in this game. I've had so much fun with this game so far, and I think this was probably the best episode yet. I mean, maybe you could argue episode 1 just for the, like, the experience of, like, actually diving in and, like, what's this game gonna look like and let's fucking go kind of vibes. But no, I'm super excited for more of this. I can't wait to see where this goes, because, yeah, like, what in the world? Because, like, and again, I don't remember the details of the opening, but because I, you know, haven't watched it back, obviously, but they were all like doing like magical girl transformations and had like weapons and shit in the opening. And like, what the hell is that about? Is that entirely like delusion nonsense, or is that like a real, like, I have so many questions about where this game's gonna go, and it's, oh man, I'm so excited. Like, I'm so looking forward to where this is going. Like, I know I'm kind of just repeating myself with the same rambling nonsense, but it really does. This is a really intriguing start, and now we're, you know, getting closer to 10 hours into ChäoS Head Noah, and I'm just so excited to watch this go. But we did finish Chapter 1 and begin Chapter 2 in this episode. No idea if we'll be able to finish Chapter 2 next time, but that would be cool if we do. If not, it'll probably be in the following episode. Like I said, in a game like this, it's very hard to pace the episodes, so you just kind of got to roll with the punches and see how it goes. But yeah, no, I'm definitely really excited to go to Phantasm's concert and potentially have a proper meeting between FES and Takumi and start to dive into the FES character a little bit. Yua's really cool too. I really like what they're doing with Kusunoki Yua. She seems really cool, and we're diving deeper into her character and all the layers of that, and that was all super cool stuff. So I can't wait. Like I said, I can't wait to go deeper into ChäoS Head Noah. I'm so glad to be back in this game, back in Science Adventure, and yeah, we back. We're gonna be doing this game. I'm gonna try to do every week until I finish it, but that depends on consistency, of course. But regardless, this is gonna be part of the series that I'm doing until I finish it. Like, we are fully committed to doing ChäoS Head until we finish ChäoS Head. So who knows how long that might take. But yeah, no, I'm excited to dive deeper into this game. I'm having a great time, and I hope all of you are as well. So anyways, I think that's gonna do it for my episode 3 ChäoS Head Noah gameplay, let's play, reaction, whatever you want to call it. We're back, and that's the big thing. So anyways, without any further ado, I must bid you adieu. Flamin' Shark signing out. Hope you have a wonderful, fantastical day. I'll see you next time with another video, and for anyone who's watching this when it actually comes back, I hope you have a happy new year, happy 2026, but who knows, you might be watching this in 2036 for all I know. Anyways, thanks for watching. Peace.